Hey everybody, trying another experiment here. This is going to be a comparison video. I've seen some comments on some other videos about someone asking for a comparison video, and I did one similar to this a while back using 4 games, but I'm going to try to up the ante a little bit and go with 5 games today. So we're going to look at Replay Baseball, which is on the far left, Statis Pro Baseball, History Maker Baseball, Payoff Pitch Baseball, and finally Strat-O-Matic Baseball. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play one 9-inning game, or maybe extra innings depending on how it goes, the same teams, same game, using 5 board game engines. So I'm going to start out with Replay Baseball and play innings 1 and 2 using Replay Baseball, innings 3 and 4 using Statis Pro, innings 5 and 6 using History Maker Baseball, innings 7 and 8 using Payoff Pitch Baseball, and innings 9 and anything after 9 that may be needed using Strat-O-Matic Baseball. And what my intentions are is to play these games for these amount of innings, stop the video after those 2 innings, or stop the game, and give my comments on the game engine, the pros and cons, the ease of play, and so forth, and then move on to the next game engine and do the same thing to give everybody a chance to see all 5 of these board game engines in action in the same game with the same players, and see how the game engine reacts to all of these players and the different things that come up in the games. And again, I'm going to give my subjective opinion. Again, it's just me. I can only speak for me, of what I think of each of these games and how they handled these particular situations. So right now I'm going to go to a screenshot on my computer where I'm going to talk about why I chose the game I chose and how we're going to proceed from here. And we will get going very shortly with the start of the game, which will be played on Replay Baseball. So I'm going to go set up my table now for the Replay Baseball board game, and we'll get started with that. Alright guys, I just wanted to show this Retrosheet website that I use for a lot of my resources, and I imagine a lot of you guys probably do as well. But for anybody maybe who is new to the hobby, or maybe new to baseball in general, may not know this website is out there, so I thought I would put it out there just to show everybody. The website is retrosheet.org, and you can get statistics, box scores, play-by-play accounts from games going all the way back to the early 1900s. And for our purposes, I'm going to replay the game from April 10th, 2015 at Yankee Stadium between the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees. And the reason why I chose that game is kind of in a way to honor Steve Tower from his After Further Review channel. He just reached a 1,000 subscriber milestone, and he is a big Red Sox fan. So I wanted to find a Red Sox game that looked like it was interesting to play out from last year. And so what I did is I went to the games section on Retrosheet regular season, and then I scrolled down to 2015, and I went to the Red Sox and looked at their game log, and I started scrolling down their game log to try to find some interesting games that they have played. And one of the first ones that hit me was this 19-inning game here on April 10th. So you click on the box score, and you can see it went 19 innings, with the Red Sox finally prevailing 6-5 on a sacrifice fly by Mookie Betts in the top of the 19th. All the way down, we've got, let's see here, yep, Betts out on a sacrifice fly to center. Bogart scores. So Xander Bogaerts scored the winning run in the top of the 19th thanks to a Mookie Betts sacrifice fly. All right, now we've got the umpires listed in the game, and when we get to the portion on History Maker Baseball for our sections there, which would be innings 5 and 6, we'll be using the umpires from this game: Marty Foster behind the plate, Mike Milczynski at, I hope I pronounced that correctly, at first base, Mike Winters and Mark Wegner at third. The actual game took 6 hours and 49 minutes to play. It was the longest game by time in Red Sox history and the longest game by time in Yankees history. Longest home game by time in Yankees history. Home plate umpire Marty Foster watched 628 pitches. So there's your starting lineup for today's game. You can see Nathan Eovaldi, the right-hander, is the starter for the Yankees, and Wade Miley, the lefty, is the starter for the Red Sox. Now, there's one hiccup that I had to correct before I could get my project started on this, and that's right here, Petite for the Yankees. There's a Gregorio, or I think it's pronounced Gregorio Petite, minor player. He only played in 20 games with 42 at-bats on the season. So on History Maker Baseball, he did not have a player card, not even in the extras. So I used the History Maker Baseball player creation pamphlet that I purchased from play.com. It really gives you a very simplified method to create the players. So if you're looking to create fictional players for that game, and I'll talk more about this when I get to the review of the History Maker Baseball game, but in order to use Petite in that game, I had to create him, but it was fairly simple to do using that template. So without further ado, let's get to the ballpark. Starting us off is going to be Replay Baseball, and we'll be going to Yankee Stadium for the start of the game between the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees, and we'll get going with that in just a moment. Okay, we're going to start with Replay Baseball, and when you get Replay Baseball, it comes with a game book, and what the game book is, it's going to give you the results of what has happened based on the rolls. So you have 6 columns to choose from, depending on how the dice turn out, and those 6 columns will give you what has happened, base running, and so forth. So let's go through a sample of play, but before I do that, I'll give you the instructions that come with the game and how easy they are to follow. So if you get this game, and this is probably, this and History Maker Baseball are probably the two that I would suggest if you're just starting out, would be the easiest to pick up and play. And you get a welcome sheet, and it gives you a sample of play in the pitcher cards. And the pitcher cards are broken down into a 6x6 grid. And the game is played rolling 3 dice, red, white, and blue, kind of fitting since we're getting close to July 4th and Independence Day. So what you do is you roll the 3 dice. The red die, you always read them in this order, red, white, and blue. And it always goes column, batter, pitcher. Column, batter, pitcher, CBP. So the 6 tells you on the pitcher column or on the pitcher card and the batter card what number or what column we're going to reference. So let's say, I'll just roll it. So instead of picking one arbitrarily, I'll just roll it. All right, we rolled a 3. So that means we're going to be on, in this case, on Jim Palmer's example, we're going to be in column 3. And in fact, I'll go ahead and use real cards so that we can test this out. Let's say we're going to have CC Sabathia facing David Ortiz. All right, if I rolled a 3, if we roll a 3, that means we're going to look at the column 3 on both David Ortiz's card and on CC Sabathia's card. All right, let's roll the next die, which is the white die. And you usually roll all 3 at one time. I'm just doing it individually, for demonstration purposes. So the column number 2, in fact, I'll get a better picture than, I don't want to use Sabathia because that's going to go into something I don't want to get into. So let me move Sabathia out of the way. We'll do Nathan Eovaldi. All right, so we got Eovaldi against Ortiz. Again, we're in column 3 on both of the cards. I rolled a 2 on the white die. So a 2 on the white die, we're going to put that right next to the batter column. And as you can see, the batter column on the left side of the grid, the numbers are in black. So you've got black writing on a white background, which mimics the white die, black dots on white writing. So that tells you that the 2 goes right there for the batter card. Now conversely, we'll roll the blue die, and that comes up as a 1. So in this case, it's a 1. So we're going to go to the pitcher row and put the 1 next to the 1 corresponding on the pitcher card. And if you notice, the pitcher cards are in blue, the blue writing. So that tells you we're going to be using the blue die for that so that you don't get it mixed up and accidentally use the blue die for the batter and the white die for the pitcher. So what we're going to do is we're going to cross-reference these results. So in this case, in fact, I'm going to go ahead and change this to a 2 just for simplicity purposes here, because I don't want to get into the shaded areas on a simple example. So let's say we rolled a 2, 2, 1. That was our roll, 2, 2, 1. So we're going to cross-reference Ortiz to column 2, row 2, and get a number 11. And then we're going to come down here to Evaldi, column 2, row 1, we get a 3. So we take the 3 from that result, add it to the 11 on Ortiz for a total of 14. All right, we got a total of 14. And remember, early on we showed the book with the results. We're going to go to the column 2 results. Column 2, and we're looking for number 14. In this case, number 14 says it's a single to center field. And then this gives you runner advancement. Runners advance 1 base. However, with 2 outs, runner on second does score. On the throw home, runner on first goes to third, batter takes second. That's if the defense decides to throw home, but you can get into more detail later. What I mainly wanted to show was when you get the 14 result, you look at column 2 in the book, cross-reference 14, and it tells you what happened and also gives you base runner advancement if anybody's on base. So it's just that simple to do a result in this game. So to me, it's a very easy game to pick up, and the welcome book or the instruction book gives you a very good example of play in here. Sample of play is very easily done, kind of very similar to what I just did, and it's just very, very simplistic, but yet the game engine behind it is very solid and gives you definitely credible results and results that are realistic. So just wanted to give my opinion on that, on how easy it is to set it up and play. You can get going probably once you pick your lineups and so forth. 2 or 3 minute time limit would be all you would take to get started. And a typical game will take, depending on how good the pitchers are. If you got good pitchers, you could probably get through a game in a half hour. If it's a little bit, there's a little bit more scoring, you're probably upping that to 45 minutes. But as you get more familiar with the game, you'll start to actually remember and memorize certain results, and you won't even have to check the book to do it. But even with videos done on gameplay, taking the time to do a video on it, you can get the game done probably in 45 minutes or less. But I'm thinking 30 minutes is probably more typical if you have decent pitchers and you're not doing a whole lot of substitutions and you're not recording a video. You can kind of go at a little bit faster pace. All right, so that's my take on Replay Baseball, the game engine of how it plays, how easy it is to play, and a sample of play. So now in our 5 games, 9 innings, or 9 innings, 5 games, maybe I'll call it 9 to 5 Dolly Parton style, we're going to go ahead and get going with innings 1 and 2 of the Boston Red Sox at the New York Yankees. And it will be Nathan Eovaldi, who we just saw an example of. He will be the starting pitcher for the Yankees. The game will be played at Yankee Stadium, and there is the stadium card. So if that comes into play, this is actually the newer stadium card. It's where you roll, instead of rolling 1 die to check on a result, you're going to roll 2 D6s instead. And that will give you, depending on what comes up on the 2 D6s, that will give you the results of what happens. And the ballparks can affect whether you get a base hit, whether it's a foul ball, whether a foul ball is caught when there's large foul territory, or whether a single becomes a home run based on short porch. So sit back and relax, and we'll get going. And I'll play 2 innings of this game on Replay Baseball. And when I'm finished those 2 innings, I'll give you my final thoughts on Replay Baseball. Okay, we're at Yankee Stadium for the game between the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees. And one thing I forgot to mention in the preamble of all this is that when you order the season cards, you do get team cards that come with the set. and it gives you the year, the record of the team, where they finished in their division, and their manager, and then a sample lineup, which was like their most prolific lineup or most often used lineup. And then on the back of the cards, you get the basic stats for the majority of their players. It's kind of small, kind of hard to see on this video, but it's there. Just kind of a recap of the stats, down and dirty basic stats for pitchers and the hitters. So let's go ahead and get the first pitch underway. Nathan Eovaldi will be taking the bump, and he'll be facing Wade Miley of the Red Sox, and first pitch is coming up. Okay, this is my score sheet all nice and clean before we start and mess it all up with the results. So hopefully it'll be a clean score sheet when the game is done. We shall see. But again, this is April 10th, 2015, Boston at New York. Wade Miley on the mound for the Red Sox and Nathan Eovaldi on the mound for the Yankees. And there you see the Boston lineup, and there is the Yankee lineup. Now, as far as the reserves that are on the bench, I wrote those down on the dry erase board. It's kind of messy, but I wrote it down anyway. There you see the 4 players available off the bench for the Red Sox, as well as their bullpen. There are 3 lefties and 4 righties available. Koji Yorihara was on the DL at this time, so he is not available. For the Yankees, they have 4 batters off the bench they can go to, and they have 3 lefties in their bullpen along with 4 right-handers. And as each is used throughout the course of the 9 innings, I will take the eraser and take them out of there so we can see who is still left to go. So if you're wondering, how come I didn't use this guy, or why didn't you pitch this guy, he may not be available. Or he may not be on the 25-man roster or 24-man roster at this particular junction of the season, which was just shortly after opening day. So that could be a part of it as well. All right, we're going to get ready to go. All those festivities are out of the way. And the way I usually like to play it, if I'm going to try to record a video of replay baseball, is I like to have the ballpark here in the middle in case that's called for. Well, it will be called for. It's not in case. If you play this game enough innings, it will get called for. It may not get called for in the first 2 innings, but we'll see. And I like to have the home starting pitcher and visiting batting team right here in front of me. And we've got the visiting bullpen and visiting bench. And we've got the visiting starting pitcher and home team lineup here with the home team bench and bullpen here. My book is right here. And sometimes I will roll the dice on the score sheet. Sometimes I'll roll on the book itself. Just depends. I think it's easier when I'm doing a video to roll the dice on the score sheet. That way it doesn't, it gives me a little bit easier transition as far as flipping the book and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll go ahead and move the starting pitcher Eovaldi and the starting batter for the Red Sox Mookie Betts into position here. And I'm going to try to do this without doing so much panning if I can help it. All right, so first at bat or 2, I'm going to go ahead and be rather methodical with it just to show exactly the game engine and how it is resolved, and maybe give some insights if I happen to find particular results that come up. All right, so we're ready to go. Nathan Eovaldi against Mookie Betts. And we're underway in this Dolly Parton 9-5, 9 innings through 5 games replay. So here we go. All right, the first result is a 3-5-6. 3-5-6. Okay, so that means we're in column 3 on both the batter card and the pitcher card. Row 6, number 6 here in white means we're going to the 6th row in the batter column. And number 5 says we're going to the 5th row of the pitcher column. So that means 5th row, 3rd column for Eovaldi, we're going to have a number 4 here. All right, number 4. And over here for Mookie Betts, row 3, column 6 is a 42. All right, so we're going to go to the book on row 3, or column 3, I should say. Column 3 in the book, we take a 42 from Betts and we add it to the 4 from Eovaldi, we get a 46. So we scroll down in column 3 to 46. That falls into the 43 through 47 results here. And this is the replay version of doing the left-right check. In other words, it breaks up the results depending on who the pitcher and batters are. So in this case, we have a right-hander, Mookie Betts, facing the right-hander, Nathan Eovaldi. So In the 43 through 47 results, that's for right-handed batters. So if he had been facing a left-handed batter, he would get a single. I'm sorry, left-handed pitcher. He would have gotten a single. But in this case, since he's facing a right-handed pitcher, it's a leaping catch by the shortstop for an out. So that's an L6. If any runners were on base, they would hold. Now, had there been a runner on second base at the time and less than 2 outs, it would be a potential line-out double play, and you would roll 1 die against the shortstop's defensive rating to determine whether that be a double play or not. So in our case, that is a line out to the shortstop, and you can see right away that the column 3, row 6 is the left-right check for this game for both the left-handed batters and the right-handed batters. Now, I talked about defense. I didn't really go into that with the player cards and how they're rated. Let's look at Dustin Pedroia. All right, each player card, they're given a range rating and an error rating. So the range rating goes from 1 to 5, 1 being the best. So you can see Pedroia here with the number 2. It means he's above average. And the error rating, 11 through 66, 66 being the best. So that means with the 56, that means he made very few errors. And the way you determine that, when an error check is called for, you roll 2d6s and put them together. So in this case, whoops, I'm sorry. In this case, we'll roll just to see. Suppose we had an error check on Pedroia. His error rating is 56. So we're going to read a red and white die. And that comes up as a 1-2, which is a 12. So 12 is obviously less than 56, and so he would make the play. But suppose it had been a 62, that would be an error. And it would either be a 1-base error or a 2-base error, and that would be determined by this blue die. A blue die being a 6 would give it a 2-base error. Blue die being anything else would be a 1-base error. So didn't want to digress too much on that, but since that book did mention something about an error, I wanted to show the people who had never seen this game how you check the errors and where to find those on the player rating cards. Okay, so the first result was a very simple line out to short, and that again was a left-right split check in this game. You also find that a little bit in column 6, but it's that column 3, row 6 that really checks that. So now we've got Dustin Pedroia. He will be up against Eovaldi. You notice he has a 42 as well, just like Mookie Betts did. So if I roll a 3-6 again, it'll be the same result because we'll go back to that split check. And the 42 plus anything from the pitcher is going to put it in that split check. All right, here's Dustin Pedroia. It is a 1-4-4. So a 1, we go to column 1, where we get a lot of strikeouts in column 1, but not always. It's column 1 for both batter and pitcher. The white die is a 4, so that is a 35 for Pedroia, so he's going to bring 35 to the table. Eovaldi also had a 4 in column 1, so he's going to bring a 3 to the table. So we got a 3 and a 35. That's a 38 in column number 1. So if we go to column number 1, scroll down to 38, it's a ground ball to third base. So in that case, it was not a strikeout, although it could have been. It was a ground ball to third. Now, when you read the result here, you come over to the right, and it gives you the results if people were on base. So in this case, if the infield had been playing back, it would be out at first and the runners would advance. If the infield was a double play depth, it would be a second to first double play, 4-6-3, or either it might have been a 4-3 unassisted. I'm not sure. I think it's just 4. Looks like it's 4-3 unassisted. 4 unassisted, 4-3 double play. If the infield was in, it'd be out at first as lead runner holds. So that's an instance in case you had a runner on third and less than 2 outs. The ground ball to second with the infield in, he would have to hold. And then if the lead runner happened to be forced, he'd be out on a fielder's choice. So that's how this right side of the bracket or right side of the score sheet or result sheet gives you the runner advancement based on what happened over here. But in this case, the result that came up was a 38. So the 38 says ground ball to third, and again, that was 35 from Pedroia and 3 from Eovaldi. So it's a ground ball to the third baseman, Chase Headley, so it's a 5-3 ground out. And there's quickly 2 away, and now that'll bring up Big Papi, David Ortiz. He will be up with 2 outs and the bases empty. And you notice his 3-6 column has a 47 in it, which means if he rolls that against a right-handed pitcher, he will get a hit because he doesn't have the 42 that the right-handers have. But that's just if you happen to roll that 3-6. And I would say in a normal game, 3-6 probably comes up about twice a game, once maybe twice a game. All right, here's Ortiz against Eovaldi. It is a 2-4-5, so a 2 for Ortiz with a 4 cross-referencing the row. So that is a 16 in column 2, and that's what Ortiz will bring to the table, is a 16 in column 2. And then a 2 on Eovaldi with a 5 for the column, that is a 3. So the 3 plus the 16 makes it a 19 in column 2. So we go to column 2 in the book, and result number 19, and that is a fly out to center field. And again, it tells you with a runner on third base and less than 2 outs, it would have been a sacrifice fly. But with the bases empty, it's simply a fly out to center field. So Ortiz flies out to Jacoby Ellsbury, and very quickly it is a 1-2-3 inning for Boston. They get no runs, and Betts had a liner to short, Pedroia grounded to third, and Ortiz flied to center. And that's the end of the top of the first. And now we go to the bottom of the first, and we'll switch sides, and Wade Miley will take the mound for the Red Sox, and he'll be facing Jacoby Ellsbury. So we got a lefty on lefty matchup to start the bottom of the first. So we'll get going with that. And it is, oh, it flipped at the end, 3-3-3. How about that? 3-3-3. Let's see if rolling triplets like that gives the batter an advantage of any kind. A 3 in column 3 and a row 3. So we've gotten to the shaded area, and the shaded area on the batter cards leads you to the ballpark card. So we know we're going to be on the ballpark card because of the shaded area, and we're going to be looking at column 3 to see if the ball drops in for a hit or not. All right, the 3 for Wade Miley, column 3, row 3 is going to be a 2. So right now it's a 2 for Miley and a 5 for Ellsbury. That's a 7. So if we were not using the ballpark effects, and you don't have to because it's an advanced feature, you don't have to use the ballpark effects. You could go straight with this number, which is a 7 in column 3, and that would be a single to left field. But since we're going to since we're using the Yankee Stadium ballpark effects, we're going to go to column 3 and we're going to roll 2 D6s and see what we get. So right now the number is a 5, but that could change. It could change to a 4, a 3, a 2, a 1, or a 62, depending on what the 2d6 roll is. So let's roll the 2d6s and cross-reference it against Yankee Stadium. The 2d6s are a 14. You read them. I'm sorry, it's a 41. Red, white. Got to keep that in mind. Red, white. 41. So it's a 41. 41. So 41 tells us that we're going to be in the 35 to 45 range, and that number 5 for Ellsbury has now turned into a 4. So the Ellsbury bat now that was over here on the 3-3 that was a 5, that number has now been reduced to a 4 thanks to the ballpark effect of Yankee Stadium. So we had a 4, and then we also had we had the 5, and we also had the 2 from Eovaldi, which was a 7, which was a single. But now that's a 4. So the 4 plus the 2 makes it a 6. So if we go to column 3 and we look at number 6, that is now a short fly out to center field. So Yankee Stadium just cost Jacoby Ellsbury a base hit. So the fly out to center is corralled by Mookie Betts. And there you can see where the ballpark actually took a hit away from Jacoby Ellsbury because of that. So that was good to show that example of what a ballpark can do. And like I said, had you not been using the ballpark effects, it would have been a single. And ballpark effects are optional in this game, but I always use them. I just think they add some realism. So that brings up Brett Gardner in the next at bat, another lefty on lefty matchup. So Joe Girardi didn't mind using his 2 lefties here against Wade Miley to start the game. So let's see what we get here. 3-3-6. So it's almost the same, but not quite. So we're going back to the ballpark again because we got a 3-3. So we're going to go right back to the ballpark once again. This time it's a 3-6 for Eovaldi, so he will be offering a 4 to the table versus a 2. So we're going to go right back to the ballpark again. Hate being redundant, but that's what rolled. So that's what I came up with. And you will get this in games from time to time. So we're going to roll 2d6s again, and this time it's a 64. So remember, it was a 5, but now we're looking at 64, and 64 is actually changed that 5 to a number 62. So the 5 is now a 62. That becomes a 62. We add it to the 4 from Evaldi. That's a 66. So if we go to column 3, number 66, that's a line drive single to center field. So that became a base hit. It actually, a 9, it would have been a base hit either way here. So in this case, it didn't change, but it could have. But it's a base hit. So Brett Gardner with a 1-out single, and we finally have a base runner in our ball game. And that'll bring up the ever controversial A-Rod, Alex Rodriguez. Righty on lefty matchup against Wade Miley. Gardner, in this game, you do not just arbitrarily call a steal. There is an option where you can do that, but the steals are actually built into the game, and that's when you get players with stars by their results. That means that they have an opportunity to try to steal. So I'm going to default and just let the game engine determine that. So Alex Rodriguez is going to bat against Wade Miley, runner at first. So the Yankees now have their infield at double play depth, so on a ground ball they could turn a double play. So A-Rod gets a 6-1-1. All right. So a 6, column 6, row 1 is a 16 for A-Rod. He just missed going to the ballpark here, but that's a 16 there. And a 6, column 1 for Miley is a 1. So that's a total of 17 in column 6. So if we scroll over or flip over to column 6 in the book and a number 17, that is a deep fly out to left sacrifice fly, but with the runner at first base, that's really not going to change anything. So A-Rod went deep, but didn't quite get all of it, and it was corralled in by Hanley Ramirez out in left field. And that'll bring up Mark Teixeira, switch hitter Mark Teixeira. So Teixeira, and you notice the righties and lefties all had either 42 or 47 in their 3-6 result. Switch hitters have the number 62 in their result, and if that comes up, I'll explain why. I got to do it. I'll explain now. Okay, so a 62 in column 3. If we go on to 62 in column 3, they're going to get a base hit either way, because whatever you add to 62 from the pitch result is going to drop them into the 63 to 67. So it's a line drive single. So in other words, the left-right trick, they're going to automatically have the advantage. So it's going to be a single right away, and you just don't have to worry about it. It's going to be a base hit when a switch hitter gets that result. Okay, so Mark Teixeira, 2 outs and a runner on against Miley. It's a 1-1-4. All right, this could be a strikeout. Let's see. 1 in column 1. 1 in row 1. That's a 1. It's a 1 in column 1. Wade Miley got a 1-4, and that gives him a total of 3. So the 3 plus the 1 is a total of 4 in column number 1. And we go to column number 1, a 2 through 6 is a strikeout. So 4 falls in that range. Therefore, it is a strikeout. So Mark Teixeira strikes out to end the inning. So after 1 complete here at Yankee Stadium, we have no score. And what I'm going to do now is try to play the second inning at more normal speed so that you can see basically, how the flow of the game goes, and I'm not taking all the time to explain everything so that you don't think it takes 2 hours to play this game. All right, so we're in our second and final inning of replay baseball for this particular game, and we have Hanley Ramirez facing Nathan Evaldi. All right, we've got a 2-1-6. 2-1 for Ramirez is a 31, and a 2-6 for Evaldi is a 4. That's a total of 35 in column number 2. So a 35 in column number 2. 35 is a ground out pitcher to first, and it does say that the batter would miss 2 games, but that's when you're playing a season. That means he's going to miss the next 2 games, and we're just doing a 1-game runoff, so we're not going to do injuries. But the total that came up as a 35 is your ground out pitcher to first. So Ramirez taps it meekly back to Eovaldi for a 1-3 putout for out number 1. And now we go to the Panda Bear, Pablo Sandoval. The Panda, he steps up against Eovaldi. It is a 3-6-1. All right, a 3-6, and again, we're right back to that 3-6 check. And remember, Pablo is a switch hitter, so we've already checked it. It's going to automatically be a base hit because he's a switch hitter. Doesn't matter who he's facing. He's going to be in that column in number 3, 62, which is a 63 through 67 when you add the result from Eovaldi, which happens in this case to be a 3. That would add to the 62 to give him a 65, and he'd have a line drive single to center field. So that is a base hit for Pablo Sandoval, and it's already 2 checks on the right-lefty check, which is kind of high, but it can happen. So it happens just enough to keep you on your toes and to keep you wanting to make sure you have the strategy of lefty-righty and just don't arbitrarily throw somebody out there, because you can get burned by it. All right, here's Napoli with 1 out and a runner at first. It's a 3-2-2. 3-2 was an 11 for Napoli, and a 3-2 for Eovaldi is a 3, or Eovaldi is a 3. So we've got an 11 plus a 3. That's a 14 in column number 3. And again, the infield's a double play depth. A 14 at column 3 is a line out to third base. The runners hold. So it's a line out to third. Napoli got into one, lined it right at Chase Headley for out number 2. So Headley snagged it before it got to the outfield, and that makes it 2 away. And now we got another switch hitter, Daniel Nava, the right fielder. He is switch hitting against Nathan Eovaldi with Sandoval at first and 2 outs. It is a 5-2-2. So a 5-2 is a 3, and a 5-2 over here is a 2. That's a total of 5 in column 5. And on column 5 is where you get more of your typical walks a lot of times, depending on the pitcher. The pitchers that have the lower numbers will have fewer walks, but if you have 3s and 4s in this column under your pitcher, you're probably going to get a walk out of it. In this case, it was a 2 because of the 5-2. Had that blue die been a 6, it would have been a 4, and it would have been more of a chance of a walk. But in this case, it's a 2, and then we add it to the 3 here for a total of 5 in column 5. And a 5 in column 5 is a ground ball to third base. With runners on and first base open, it would have been a walk. Now we do have runners on, but he's at first, it's not open. So it's simply a ground ball to third to end the inning. And so the top of the second is over. Nothing for the Red Sox. They got the 1 hit by the Panda, and that was it. He was stranded at first base. We go to the bottom of the second, and this will be our last time with Replay Baseball as we're going to move on to our next game. So Brian McCann will lead things off, and warming up on deck is Statis Pro Baseball. They're ready to go with innings 3 and 4. But right now we're still on Replay Baseball. Here's Brian McCann, lefty against lefty Miley. It is a 2-1-6. So a 2-1 for McCann is a 48, and a 2-6 for Miley is a 4. That's a total of 52 in column 2, a very large number there. So let's see what a 2 and 52 says. Let's see here. 52 in column 2 is a ground ball again, pitcher to first. There is an asterisk here beside that. And let's see what it says here. If a Y appears beside the batter's result, it's a possible error. Well, there is no Y result. There is no Y next to that result, so we ignore that. It's simply a ground ball back to Wade Miley. So it's a 1-3 ground out, and that's out number 1. And now we've got the switch hitting Chase Headley at third base. He is in the 6th batting position, and he will hit against the lefty Miley. And we get a 4-5-6. Now, column 4 in red, the 4 red is typically where you do your defensive checks. So this is going to be a chance to check out the defensive prowess of the Red Sox. So Chase Headley rolled a 4-5. So a 4-5 is a 1, a number 1. And in column 4 on the pitcher card, you get defensive positionings. And that's going to tell you which fielder we're going to check the defensive rating on. In this case, the blue die is a 6, so we're going to be checking the second baseman, Dustin Pedroia. So if we look at Dustin Pedroia, and on the replay score sheet that comes with the game, there's a place to put their fielding ratings down, but I didn't do that for this demonstration. I'll just pull the card out. So Pedroia, his defensive rating is number 2. So we're going to take this second base slot and turn it into a number 2 based on his defensive rating. It would be as if a number 2 had been written here. So we're going to take the 2 from Dustin Pedroia from his defensive rating and the 1 from Chase Headley's at bat. Right here, I'm sorry, 4 or 5 is a 1. So the 1 and the 2 it's a total of 3 in column 4. So if we go to column 4, number 3, that's a grounder out at first. So he grounds to Pedroia at second, it's a 4-3 ground out. And on column 4, if there's runners on base, you have 3 results here. 1 for with the infield back, 1 halfway, and 1 in. So when you make your strategy, you don't have to guess what's going to happen to the base runners. The book will tell you based on how you set your defense. But in this case, with the bases empty, it's a simple 4-3 ground out. Since Pedroia was such a good fielder, that did not manifest itself into an error. In fact, with Headley being a number 1 on his result, that kind of almost any fielder would have made that play. So now we go to Chris Young, who is the right fielder. I think Carlos Beltran may have been just given a day off or not feeling well or something. And Chris Young typically hits better against left-handed pitching, which is, I think, why he was in this game. So Chris Young, who is now with the Red Sox, ironically, is facing Wade Miley, who is no longer with the Red Sox, ironically. But in April 10th, 2015, they were there. So here we go. It's a 3-1-2. All right. 3-1 for Chris Young is a 31, and a 3-2 for Wade Miley is a 2. That's a total of 33 in column 3. So we go over here to column 3, number 33, and that is a line out to second base. A line out to second base. Now you can see that had Wade Miley's number been a little higher, that would have bumped this down into the doubles range. So had his number 3 column 2 been a 4 or a 3, that would have been a double. Or if the blue die had been a 5 or a 6, it would have been a double. So anyway, in this case, that didn't happen. It is a line out to center field. So Chris Young lines out to Mookie Betts in center. And that's going to do it for the for the Yankees in the bottom of the second. After 2 innings, we are at no score. And we are finished with our experiment of the first of 5, which is replay baseball. So let me give you my thoughts on replay baseball and a final. I don't want to borrow I hate to steal the phrase from Steve Tower, but after further review, so I hope Steve doesn't mind me using that. After further review, this is what I think of this particular game, replay baseball. I do like the game components. The game cards themselves are high quality card stock. They feel very good in your hands. They look really good on the table. They're very colorful. And they're very easy. Once you know what you're looking for, it's very easy to navigate around these cards. And I like the ballpark card. I like how that adds to the game. It gives us some realism. So if you're playing in Coors Field, you're going to feel the difference between that and playing, say, at Dodger Stadium. The book itself, the results book, is laid out very well and very neat. You have tabs for the columns. If you're playing solitaire, which I think it's a great solitaire game, it gives you an automatic third base coach that you can go to find out for base runner advancement. So you don't have to make that decision or wonder what's going to happen. You can just let the game engine determine that. There is an action chart over here, some results for batters on their cards. They will have letters after their results. Let's see if I can find one with a letter. Let's say we had, if I can find one. Should have looked at this ahead of time, I guess, huh? All right, let's look at Shane Victorino. All right, let's say he got on base with this result here. You see the L? The L there next to him means that would send you to this action chart, column L. And then you roll 2d6s, and you could end up with a wild pitch. He could get picked off. He could have a balk. He could have all sorts of things based on whether they had a letter next to their result. And that only happens when you have a letter like that. for sacrifice bunts, you've got the results here based on the bunt rating of the player and whether the infield was in or not. So that gives you that result. If you go towards the back of the book, they have what's called an unusual play chart or a result. Rare plays, I think is what they actually call it, rare plays. And it's based on if the bases are empty or who's on base and how many outs there are. And then you read and you can, like, let's look at the example. There's a runner on third and there's 2 outs. How about that? Runner on third and 2 outs. Okay. You roll 2d6s and it comes up as an 11. All right. You go down to that's the result with no outs. That's the result with 1 out. With 2 outs, it says balk ejection. So balk is called on the pitcher. The runner scores. After a heated argument, pitcher is tossed from the game by the home plate umpire. So you can get something like that in the rare play things. It doesn't happen very often, which is why it's called rare. But when it does, it adds to the game. And then in the back, they also give you extra rules on different things about base running and so forth. And it gives you the optional ballpark effects, optional ways to do stolen bases if you want to do them manually rather than waiting for the results of the game engine. It gives you things about pitcher endurance, and there's certain extra rules you can use for that. And if you're playing a season, it gives you optional rest charts that go along with that. So to borrow a phrase from Regis Philbin, my final answer on Replay Baseball is that it is a wonderful game to play. It is very easy to pick up and learn. It's a game I would highly recommend to somebody who's just beginning the board game process and is not used to the board game process and wants something that they can sit down and play without having to have a degree from MIT to figure out how to play it. It's very simple to play, yet it gives you realistic results. If I had to use a downside to the game, the only downside I could come up with in this game is that it, like I said, when we rolled these 2 innings, it did have a couple left-right checks, but to me, it falls a little bit short on the left-right splits because I'm a big left-right guy, but that's just me. For the majority of the players, this has enough left-right flavor to it to meet their needs. So it's a very minor nitpick. It's not I wouldn't even call it a nitpick. It's just something that if I was going to improve the game, that's what I would do. I noticed that pitchers like lefty specialists and so forth, they have these double shaded cards. Let's see if I can find one for you real quick to make my point or to show my point. Let's look at Robbie Ross. He is a reliever for the Red Sox, and he's a lefty specialist, and that's how the Red Sox use him in real life. He has, the columns are doubled up, so his row 1 and 2 is actually in row 1, and the blue shaded area is when he's facing a left-handed batter, and the white shaded area is when he's facing a right-handed batter. So I do like the way they incorporated that. It would be nice, I think, to have the same kind of result on the batter grid, to have that doubled up just like this one, so that, well, let's not use him. Let's use Garrett Jones, a lefty. Garrett Jones, a lefty, I haven't looked at his stats, but he probably doesn't get to play much against lefty pitching, and he probably does a lot better against the right-handed pitching. So if he had the similar results here, so say in his row 1, he had a 1-2 here, and that would be the row against lefties. And then down here in row 4, that would actually be a 1-2 row against right-handed pitching and have it shaded and so forth. To mimic this, I think that would be a nice enhancement. I don't know if it'll ever come along. It might overwhelm people that don't care about it or whatnot. So it's probably something that's never going to happen. But even without that, the game engine itself does very well. And even when I play this game, I still when I'm managing the game, I still manage it as if every at-bat was a potential left-right check, which technically it is if you roll that 3-6, but like I said, that's a minimal chance to do that. But that's a very minor nitpick, and in my opinion, this game, if you're just looking to start out, would be at the top of my list for you. And I think it's a very realistic game. I like the fact that it incorporates both the pitcher and the batter. So it's not one of these 50-50 games where you could bring in your ace reliever and the roll goes to the batter's card and the ace reliever had no impact. The pitcher has an impact every time in this game. So that's a huge plus to not have that 50-50 split the way some of the other games are that I'll talk about down the road. But anyway, that's it from here. I've gone on long enough with this video. Obviously, it took 43 minutes to explain all this and play 2 innings. So I don't know if I'm going to break this up or have a 3-hour video. I'm not sure how I'm going to do this, but I'm trying to be thorough as I can without dilly-dallying too much. But when I think of things that might be important or that seem to be important, I want to bring them out. So right now I'm going to go ahead and take these cards up and leave my score sheet down, of course, but move out the replay baseball and get it ready to set up for Statis Pro Baseball, and that's a whole new ball game, pardon the pun, when you play that game. And I will go over an overview of that and get that going in just a few minutes. Okay, we're ready to go with Game 2 of the 9-5. Game 2 of 5 is Statis Pro, and you can buy this. It's no longer produced by the game company itself, but you can find copies of this on eBay. They have, the one I bought was the Great Teams, but you can buy an older version that had a particular season cards with it and do it that way. Just wanted to show that. And the rule book that comes with the game, it's just 4 pages, so it's pretty simple to use. It's pretty straightforward. It's well written, and it kind of just gives you a basic blow-by-blow of how you're going to do things. The unique thing about, there's a couple unique things about Statis Pro actually. One of them is it's a base 8 game, and instead of being a 0 through 9, it's a 1 through 8. So you have fast action cards rather than dice. And the results, the random number results, are always going to be numbers 11 through 88 because it's a base 8 game. And the results are done that way as well. So when you look at a batter's card, for instance, look at a Carlos Beltran card. These are cards I bought off eBay for $10. They're PDFs and you print them off yourself. So as long as you don't mind printing and cutting, you can really get these fairly cheaply. And the community out there on eBay has these out available for, like I said, a lot of the seasons. And you can get them with the splits or without the splits. It's your choice. But the numbers start 11 and they end up in 88. So the ranges there are 11 through 88. And basically what's going to happen is you're going to go through the random numbers, and the random number is going to tell you what he did based on what you flip. So in this case, you can see Beltran is a switch hitter, so his results against lefties and righties are fairly similar. If we look at somebody like, say, a David Ortiz for the Red Sox, and let's see what he did or how his results vary, you can see that his strikeout range against lefties is a lot wider range than his strikeouts against righties. His home run range is not quite as good. It's only 7 as opposed to 10. His out range, or his walk range, is only a 54 against righties. I'm sorry, against lefties. But he has a wide range of walks against right-handers. So obviously, right-handers walked him a lot more than they needed to. The game cards themselves, the OBR rating, talks about how well they run. A is the best, E is the worst. So as you can see, his speed rating and his OBR rating are the worst you can get. And as everybody knows, David Ortiz is not the fastest guy in the world. I could probably outrun him, and that's not saying much. He's obviously not going to have much of a sacrifice rating because he doesn't bunt. But the sacrifice ratings go AA to double D, and he's a double D, which is the worst, obviously. They have an example of power ratings. And so there's a separate chart on the card for that to do the power ratings. And let's see what else they have here. His defense, he only played 9 games at first base, so he's not going to have much of a defensive rating, but his clutch defensive rating would be listed here, like that for all the players. And I'll go through a sample of play for anybody who's not seen it, exactly how the game engine works and how you go through an at-bat. And like I said, it's a game that's driven by fast action cards, and a lot of the information is on the board itself. It has a lot of information, but there's also, there are these charts that tell you what happens based on who's on base. So you've got all these things about things on base. We've got our clutch defensive plays. So when a defensive player's ability is challenged, the clutch defensive chart will tell you based on his rating what has happened. And there's also what they call a Z chart, which is similar to the unusual plays or the rare plays. And there's also a fielding table there on a rare fielding play. And let's see what else they have here. That's probably it about here. There's also, if you're playing a season, there's also an injury table that's attached to the main instruction booklet. So you can use that as well. All right, so as we said, the fast action card is the heart of the engine for this game. And what you're going to use, you're typically going to have about 3 or 4 card flips to determine the outcome of an at-bat. So let's say, for instance, that Nathan Eovaldi, in fact, that's going to be the next at-bat in the actual game itself, is Nathan Eovaldi against Xander Bogaerts. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip the first random card. So I'm going to flip this over. Let's not use that one. Let's flip this one over. We'll flip it over, and we get an 11. We'll look at the PB rating. That's the only thing we're focused on this first flip, is the PB rating. The PB rating will tell you, and this is what they call a 50-50 game, it'll tell you whether it goes to the batter or to the pitcher. Now, better pitchers can affect that. So better pitchers will have a higher PB rating, and that will put more on their card versus the batter card. And as you might expect, results off the pitcher's card are typically more advantageous to the pitcher, and off the batter card is more advantageous to the batter. But in this case, we got a PB 11, so probably no matter who you had pitching, even if it was Cy Young, it would still be off the batter card. But in this case for Eovaldi, his PB rating, you would still check it. His PB rating is a 2 through a 6 if you're playing the overall results, but it's also broken down lefty-righty. So in his case, he did pretty much the same against righties as against lefties, so his PB rating is 2.6 either way, but there are a lot of pitchers that the PB rating for one side will be higher than the other. But since it is a PB 11, we're going to go to Xander Bogaerts' card. Now, this is all. We're not going to use this card anymore. That card was only used to determine whether we go to the batter or the pitcher. Now that's been determined, we flip a new card. And once we flip the new card, what we're looking for on the new card is the random number. So we're going to flip the new card, and the random number is an 85. Okay, so we're going to go to Xander Bogaerts, and he's facing Eovaldi, who is a right-handed pitcher, and we're going to scroll down to 85, and we see that 85 is in the out range because the out range is 57 to 88. So that means we know he made an out, and that's all we're using this card for, is the fact that Xander Bogaerts has made an out. Now we need to find out what kind of an out. So what we're going to do is flip the next card, and there's an out sequence determined at the bottom of each of the fast action cards. And each batter is given a particular characteristic. In this case, Xander Bogaerts is listed as an RN. It does not mean he's a nurse. It means he is right-handed with normal power. So on the out sequence, we're going to go to the RN on the next flip. Not this card, but on the next flip. Had we been using this card, it would have been G6A, which would be a ground ball to short. But we're going to flip the next card under RN. And RN says it's an F6, so he pops out or fouls out, whichever way you want to look at it. I just call it a pop out. So he pops out to short, and that's the end of it. That has solved the whole at bat. He's popped out to short, he's out, and we move on to the next batter. So that's how that would play out on a typical at bat. Now let's look at the pitcher card. We looked at the hitter card. Now let's look at the pitcher card for some of their other things that happen on the card. I talked about the PB rating already. There's also an SR rating, which is a stamina rating. And there's a stamina check in the game, if you're playing a full game, where you're given a pitcher reduction rating, and he starts out with whatever that number is, being at 1 through 20. So in his case, it's a 16. So he would start with a 16. And each time he gave up a hit, a walk, a run, I believe a wild pitch, there's a few other things on there, you would reduce it by 1 each time. And if he gets all the way down to 1, which typically can happen maybe in the 7th or 8th innings, or if he's getting beat around pretty good, and he gets past the 1 and goes and falls off the chart completely, then when the batter result goes on, we're not even going to check the PB rating for the pitcher. It's going to be an automatic default to the batter, which of course is not advantageous to the pitcher. So that's why that's how that factors in stamina in the game. The better pitchers, or the ones that pitched a more complete games and so forth, would have a higher SR rating than those who don't. And it's the same with the relievers. They have an RR, which is relief rating stamina. So that's how they do with that. And you see that Eovaldi has a 0 in his RR rating, which means he never was a reliever. He started the whole time. It's 27 starts. He had no middle relief, no games finished. So if you're playing a season with the Yankees, you only are supposed to use Eovaldi as a starter, not as a reliever. There are some players or some pitchers that both started and relieved in games, and they would have ratings on both sides of the house. And there's an example of that. Let me see if I can find one real quick. Adam Warren's a perfect example of that. He's what they call a swing guy. Doesn't mean he parties. It means he can go back and forth between starting and relieving. So he's got a starting relief rating of 9. So you can see instead of Eovaldi at a 16, he's all the way down to a 9 before he even gets going. So he's less likely to pitch 7 or 8 innings because of that, and that's going to mimic his real life. And he's got a relief rating of 6. So you can see he had 17 starts and 21 relief appearances. So that's how that comes into play for those middle relievers. All right, so hopefully that is a broad overview. I've tried to go as fast as I could on this so that the video doesn't go so long. The other factor is the majority of the cards, especially the older season cards, do not have the breakdown of lefty-righties, but the board game itself factors into that, much like the replay baseball did on that one result. This game also does it. So if your random number ends up being 11, 12, or 13 when a left-handed batter is facing a left-handed pitcher, that hit result will now be a strikeout. If it's a 14 or 15, it's going to be a foul out versus a hit. Conversely, if a left-handed batter is facing a if a right-handed batter is facing a left-handed pitcher, he gets an advantage. The 87 and 88 that would normally be outs are now going to be hits. And it's flipped around for when a right-handed pitcher is on the mound. The left-handed batter gets the advantage, and the right-handed batter gets some outs. Not as many as the lefties, but still a couple that would factor in. So that would be the case if you're playing a set that did not have the left-righty splits on the cards themselves. The game incorporates that in a minor way this way. When you order these sets off eBay PDF like I did, you get the nice little neat team cards, much like the replay game had, where it has the team name, the division they're in, the record, the stadium, the manager. It also gives you park factors for the stadium, and in the advanced, there's a park factor thing you can use with this, but in my example, I'm not going to use that right now. I'm just going to play it as normal. And let's see, and it just gives you a little logo. It's kind of neat to have the little logos on there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, reshuffle the deck, and we're going to get ready to pick it up where we left off. If you remember, after the replay 2 innings, it was 0-0, and we're going to end up having Xander Bogaerts, Sandy Leon, and Mookie Betts to start off the top of the third for the Red Sox. So we'll be right back to get this innings 3 and 4 done here on Statis Pro Baseball. Okay, we're ready to go, and fast action cards have been shuffled. And of course, this is one of those rare games where you don't use dice, you use the fast action card. And since we only played 2 innings, nothing has changed on the tote board here. All the bench and bullpen players are still available as they were before. So we'll see if that changes. Right now, we start at the top of the third, and it's going to be Xander Bogaerts against Nathan Eovaldi. So we're going to flip the first card and check that PB rating to see who has control of this at bat. All right, it's an 8. It's an 8. And Eovaldi's a 2 through 6, so that means Xander Bogaerts gets control of this at bat. So we'll do the next flip to get a random number. The random number is a 51. So Xander Bogaerts against right-handed pitching, a number 51, that falls in the strikeout range. So Eovaldi has struck out Xander Bogaerts for out number 1 here in the top of the third. And now we go to the number 9 hitter, the light-hitting backup catcher, Sandy Leon. And as you can see, his card results are a lot of blanks here and a lot of outs because he wasn't that great of a hitter. But he's a switch hitter, so Could get a hit, you never know. All right, so next flip against Eovaldi. It is a 3, so this time we will be checking Nathan Eovaldi's cards. So he's off a 3 here. So let's see what, and he's facing the left-handed hitting Sandy Leon because he's a switch hitter. He's going to bat left. So let's check the random number for Eovaldi, and that random number is a 53. So we go to his card versus left-handed batting, a number 53, and a 53 says he has just walked Sandy Leon. So Sandy Leon draws a walk. So a walk to Sandy Leon puts a runner on first with 1 out. And as I said, if we had been playing the reduction, then he would move from a 16 to a 15 based on that walk. And there are pawns included on the game. You could put a pawn here on first base if you wanted to, but I'm keeping score, so I don't need that. So that's the way that would work with his reduction. He would go from a 16 to a 15 based on that walk. All right, now Mookie Betts is up. He lined out to short his first time up. So we'll see what happens here on this next result. It's a 9, so that means we're under Mookie Betts. So that's good for Boston. And check the random number. It's a 74, so the higher numbers on random numbers are not good for the batters. So 74 against a right-hander is an out. So now we have to figure out what kind of an out. He is a right-handed power hitter. So when we flip the next card in the out sequence, we're going to check at the very bottom under right-handed power hitter and see what happens. So let's check the out result. And the out result, well, this case, everybody, no matter who you are, you fly to center. That's how you made your out. So Mookie Betts flies to center field for out number 2. And that'll bring up Dustin Pedroia. He grounded to third his first time up. We'll do the flip and see if Eovaldi is in charge. Nope, it's a 10, so we're under Pedroia. So Pedroia gets the flip. It's an 11. Now, had this been a game where we were not doing left-right splits on the card, the 11 would have been an infield hit, but the board would have overridden that with a strikeout, being a right-handed batter was facing a right-handed pitcher. But since we have lefty-righty splits already in here, this is not applicable, or at least I don't play this being applicable because I'm using the left-right splits already from the game. So in this case, a 11 result is a base hit, an infield hit as a matter of fact. So it's an infield hit. That's what the 1BF means. It's an infield hit for Pedroia. And the infield hit will move Sandy Leon to second base. And another perk on this game to check for errors besides, well, the way to check for errors is when the result is off the batter's card and it's a hit, we flip another card to see if there was an error. And the way to check that is this little error block on the fast action card. It could say none, it could give you a range. So in this case, but in this case we won't even check it because it says infield, it's an infield hit, so we don't even know who it was hit to. So in this case I can't really check it because I don't know who the fielder was. It could have been the pitcher, it could have been anybody. So in this case I'm going to eschew that and go straight to the next result, which is going to be David Ortiz up to the plate with 2 outs and 2 on. And again, that would have moved Eovaldi down to a 14 based on that had we were doing the stamina check. All right, so the next flip is going to be very critical. If it's a 2 through 6, Eovaldi might be able to handle Ortiz. If it's higher, Ortiz might take him deep. Let's see what it is. It's a 9, so we're going to be under Ortiz. So Ortiz is in control here. But what is the all-important random number? And sometimes these cards do stick together. All right, here we go. The next flip, it's an 84, so unfortunately for Ortiz, it's a high number. 84 is an out, 57 to 88. But we have to figure out what kind of an out. He's a left-handed power hitter, so we're going to be checking the LP version of the out sequence on the next card. But it says here, all out, ground ball to the catcher. Now, there is an asterisk next to that. Anytime you run into an asterisk, you have to flip the next card to check for an error. And like I said, we're looking right here to see whether it says none or whether there's a number range. If there's number range, then we're going to check it against the fielder and his defensive rating to see if he made an error or not. So the next flip to check for an error is 7 to 10. All right, we're going to check the Yankee catcher Brian McCann and make sure his error rating does not fall in the 7 to 10 category. If we look at Brian McCann, his error rating as a catcher is an E1. and E1. So E1 does not fall into 7 to 10. So therefore he made the play without any problem, and the inning is over. It's a 2 to 3 ground out, and Ortiz is out, and so are the Red Sox here in the top of the third. So we go to the bottom of the third now. Wade Miley stepping in against Stephen Drew. It'll be Drew, Petit, and Ellsbury coming up for the Yankees here in the bottom of the third. And it's the same routine. We're going to flip, and it's an 8. Wade Miley against left-handed batters is a 2-7. He's only a 2-6 against righties. He's a 2-7 against lefties. But the 8 is outside of that range even. So we're going to go to Stephen Drew's card. And you can see Stephen Drew didn't really do a whole lot, but we'll see what happens here. The next flip on the random number is a 25. So Stephen Drew versus left-handed pitching, a 25 is actually going to be a double. So that 25 goes a double to right field. He actually has kind of inverse splits because he does better apparently against left-handed pitching. So in this case, it's a 25, which means he hits a double to right field. Now, the fact that the double went to right field off of his card means we need to flip another card to see if the right fielder, Daniel Nava, has made an error. So we're going to check that on this next flip, and the error rating is, or the error check is none. So it's simply a leadoff double for JD Drew. I'm sorry, for Stephen Drew. I keep calling him JD. So that's a double, and that puts the go-ahead run at second base with nobody out. And number 9 hitter, Gregorio Petit. Now, with the number 9 hitter, it's a good chance to do a sacrifice bunt to move the runner to third base with less than 2 outs. So the way to perform a sacrifice bunt is you go to the sacrifice rating, which he is a AA, which is the best there is. And then the upper right-hand corner of the board, there's a sacrifice chart, and it's done by rating. And you get one random number off the fast action card and compare it to his rating. So we're going to flip one card. We're not checking PB ratings or anything. We're going straight to the random number, and that random number is a 62. So we go to the sacrifice bunt chart under AA, which is his rating, and find 62. And 62 falls within the 38 to 65 range. So we're going to read this result. And it says batter out, third to first, runners advance, a sacrifice. Okay, so he sacrificed 5 to 3. He was fielded by the Panda, and he threw over to Napoli at first for the out. But Drew does go to third base with 1 out. So he is at third base with 1 out, and Jacoby Ellsbury is the batter. And you wonder if the Red Sox might want to bring the infield in here, and I believe they will. So let's see if that has an impact here. Lefty Jacoby Ellsbury against lefty Miley. The PB check is an 8, so again we're under the batter card, Ellsbury. The random number is a 61. So against left-handed pitching, a 61 just made it to the out range. If it had been 58, he would have gotten hit by a pitch, but he's just in the out range. So now we've got to check and see what kind of out it was. He was a left-handed normal batter, so we're going to check on the out sequence of the next card under LN. So left normal is a ground ball to the pitcher, G1. All right, so we need to go to our base running chart, the charts that we have for base running, and there is one specifically designed for a runner on third. So we go to the man on third chart, and the result was a G1. G1 with an asterisk, so we need to check whether there was an error or not based on an asterisk. And the flip is a none, so we know there's no error. So we go to the man on third, and there's different results for infield in, infield back, and so forth. So G1, infield in says runner holds. Had the runner been an OBRA and the infield was back, he would have scored. But in this case, with the infield in, the runner had to hold. And Stephen Drew, I don't believe, is an OBRA anyway. Let's see if he is or not. Stephen Drew is an OBRD, so he wouldn't have scored either way, but we didn't know that going in. You never know these things until they actually happen. But in this case, Wade Miley got a weak ground ball off the end of the bat against Jacoby Ellsbury and got the out 1-3 for out number 2, and it kept the runner at third base. Now there are 2 outs for Brett Gardner, lefty on lefty against Miley again. This time it's a 6. So the 6 does fall in Miley's PB range. So Miley will be in control of this at bat. And the random number is a 78. 78 means he's in the out range. Brett Gardner is a left-handed power hitter, so we're going to check the LP on our out sequence on this next flip. And the LP says it's a line out to the first baseman, but it does have an asterisk. So we will need to check and see whether Mike Napoli made an error on this play. So we're going to flip the next card and see what it says. And it says error none, so that means Napoli made the play. And the inning is over. So the third inning is done for the Yankees with no score. So we go to the fourth, and it's our final inning of Statis Pro Baseball, and we're still scoreless. Hanley Ramirez will lead off for the Red Sox against the Yankees. The flip is a 7, PB7. That's outside of Eovaldi's range, so Ramirez will control. It's a 41, so we go to right-handed. His results against right-handed pitching, a number 41. That is a strikeout. A strikeout. Had it been a 34 through 28, it would have been a home run. But he found the 35 to 45 range. So Hanley Ramirez has just gone down on strikes for out number 1. And that'll bring up the Panda, Pablo Sandoval. He actually has the one of the 2 hits for the Red Sox in this game. Let's see what he does this time. It's an 8, so we are under Sandoval. And the result is an 88. Again, had we not been using left-right splits on the cards, that would have been a single based on Sandoval being left-handed hitter against a right-handed batter. But in this case, the 88 is simply a out, and he is a left-handed normal batter. So left-handed normal batter. LN is a line drive back to Eovaldi, but there is an asterisk. So we flip to make sure there's no error, and there is none. So it's an L1. Sandoval lined it right back to Eovaldi, who made the stab for out number 2. And that'll bring up Mike Napoli. So let's see if Eovaldi can control. No, he cannot. It's still with the batter. It's a 9. So that goes under Napoli. And that's a 43. So Napoli against right-handed pitchers, a 43 is also a strikeout. He found a strikeout range. So Napoli goes down on strikes. And the inning's over here in the top of the 4th. Red Sox go down 1, 2, 3. We go to the bottom of the 4th, still no score. And leading off for the Yankees is A-Rod against Wade Miley. So let's see what happens here. It's an 8, so we are under A-Rod. The next flip's a 16. Could be bad. 16 against left-handed pitching. A 16 is a double. A double to left field for A-Rod. And since we're off the batter card, we do need to check to see if Hanley Ramirez made an error on the play. And he did not, none. So it's a double for A-Rod. So the Yankees start the bottom of the 4th the way they started the bottom of the 3rd with a double. But there will be no bunting this time because we're in the heart of the order. Mark Teixeira is the batter, switch hitter, against Miley. Flip is a 5, so Miley against a right-handed batter, that 5 falls in his PB range, so he will control the at-bat. The next flip is an 84. 84 is an out, so we're going to check Teixeira. He is a switch BP, which means a switch hitter with power. So we're going to look at SP on the out sequence. And the SP under these out sequence, well, everybody's going to fly to right. So occasionally it gives you all, doesn't matter who you are. So in this case, it's a fly to right field for 1 away. Now, had A-Rod been one of the speedy runners, you might have had a chance to advance on a fly ball, but A-Rod's not going anywhere. So here's Brian McCann, another lefty on lefty matchup against Miley. We got a BD. Okay, this is our first chance for the BD ratings, which typically talks about his ability to use his power. And so the BD rating for McCann against left-handed pitching, he's a BD rated number 1. And it's 11 through 17 is a double, and 18 through 35 is a home run. So if we flip over anything other than anything that's higher than 35, then we simply ignore the result and reboot. But if he gets an 18 through 35 on this next random number, he will homer. If it's an 11 through 17, he will double. So the next random number is a 54, and the 54 falls outside of this range. So therefore, that we do it like it never happened and restart the at-bat. So we're going to try again, which means Miley could control if the PB rating comes up in his favor. It does not. It's a 9. So we're still under McCann. So we're going to flip the random number. It's a 36. 36. So we go to McCann against lefties. A 36 is a strikeout. So that fell in the range of a strikeout. So Brian McCann strikes out for out number 2. And Miley is one batter away from getting out of this. Here is Chase Headley, and once this out is done, or the next out happens, we will shift to History Maker Baseball. So I'll go ahead and play this out till we get the third out, and then give you my final opinion on Statis Pro Baseball. All right, Headley, switch hitter. It's a 5, so we are under Wade Miley. He will control. The next flip's a 53. So a 53 against right-handed batters is a walk. So Wade Miley walks Chase Headley. So that puts runners at first and second since A-Rod was already on second. Runners at first and second, and Chris Young, the right fielder, is up. He specializes against left-handed pitching. You can see his card is loaded here against left-handed pitching, very sparse against right-handed pitching. So that's definitely being taken into consideration here. So it would behoove Wade Miley to get this on his card and not let it get to Chris Young's card. But let's see what the all-important PB flip is. It's an 11, so we are under Chris Young. Bad news for Wade Miley, potentially. The random number is a 33. That's even worse news. So we go to the left-handed versus left-handed pitching. A number 33, that is a double to right field, as that falls in the 33 to 34 category. It is a double to right field, and that will score A-Rod with the first run of the game. Yankees take a 1-0 lead. We do need to check for an error on the right fielder, Nava, because there was the result was off the batter card. So we're going to go ahead and check that. There is none, no error on that. But the Yankees lead 1-0, and had we been doing the reductions, he would have lost 1 for a hit and 1 for a run. So he would have lost 2 points on that one batter because of the result. So Yankees are up 1-0, and Stephen Drew is the batter with... Headley was on first base as well. So I got ahead of myself here. Headley was on first base, so he has a chance to score on that double. So I'm glad I found that or didn't bypass that without paying attention. Headley, although he's not the best base runner in the world, he's an OBR-C. But they're on the chart here, runner advancing on base hit, the tables are already on the board and will tell you if he can advance or not. And it's based on the throwing arm of the outfielder and the speed of the runner. Headley is a OBR-C, and he's trying to go from first to home on a double. All right, he's an OBR-C, which means we're going to be in this third row, the middle row, and his chances are going to be dependent upon, in some respect, the outfield arm of Daniel Nava. So Daniel Nava, next to his error rating is a T rating, and he's got a T5, which is the best you can have. So Daniel Nava is a T5. So if we wanted to send Headley, he's a C OBR, and a T5 is 11 through 22. Well, the chances of flipping 11 through 22 are not very good. However, there's a caveat to this. When 2 men are out, you add 20 to all safe chances. So in other words, he now has an 11 through 42 chance of being safe. So we're going to go ahead and take that chance with 2 outs. We're going to see if Headley can score or not. And to score, the next random number has to be 11 through a 42. Anything 43 or higher, and Nava will throw him out. And here's the flip. It's a 68, so he is out. So Daniel Nava throws out Headley trying to score. We'll call it 9. You wouldn't think it'd be a 9-2. It's probably a 9-4-2, just to be... I'm not sure how particular you want to be with that. But either way you go, it's an out because Nava got the ball quickly to the cutoff man, and they were able to nail Headley at the plate to end the inning and stop that second run from scoring. So after 4 complete, it is 1-0 in favor of the Yankees. And that does it for this portion of that ball game, as Statis Pro has gotten their 2 innings worth in. And I'll be right back to give you my final thoughts on Statis Pro. Okay, I'm going to give you my final thoughts on Statis Pro Baseball. I do like the board. I think the board looks very nice. It's a nice aesthetic. There is some good information on the board. A lot of the information you need is on the board itself, so you don't have to go to the charts. We did have to go to the chart one time on the defensive check, but otherwise, the majority of the time, the results are going to be off the fast action cards based on the batter cards, or it will send you to somewhere on the board. I do like the pitcher reduction rating. That gives you a good, and it's optional. You don't have to use it, obviously, but I think you should use it if you play the game because it gives you a realistic time frame of when the pitcher needs to be replaced, either being ineffective or going along innings. It's a unique game because of the fast action cards. There are no dice. There's not even a dice version of this that I know of. It's strictly fast action cards. But the fast action cards, you get in a rhythm flipping these cards, and when you're not doing a video explaining the game, you can get through a Statis Pro game probably in 20 minutes if you have good pitchers and good rhythm. And what you do is, what they suggest you do anyway, is after every 3 innings, you may be down to like this much of the card deck left. They suggest you flip the deck over and shuffle, and that helps with the randomness of what you're going to get. So I do like that. I like the fact that, well, one of the negatives, I guess, would be it's kind of a 50-50 game, but at least a good pitcher will improve his chances on getting to control based on his ratings. It's not cut and dry. So if you did bring in your ace reliever, he would probably be a PB 2 to 9. So he's got a better chance of controlling that at bat against that hitter late in the game than maybe a true 50-50 game, which doesn't even take into account how good he is. It's just whether or not it's a 50-50 chance whether or not he gets to control or not. So I don't think it takes that long to figure out how to play it. It's a little different from some of the other games. So if you're used to playing the games with the dice and whatnot, there could be a very small learning curve to this. One thing I do like about it is, and it's going to sound ironic, is that there's no company making it. So they don't really need to make a profit off of it. It's all through the secondary market. So if you go on eBay, you can probably find a game board. Just the game board itself, you wouldn't need the player cards, just the game board. And you would be able to get going right away. I believe there's even a PDF version of the game board you could buy and print out. There's PDFs of the fast action cards you could buy and print out if you wanted to really cut your cost. And like I said, the player cards, they're kind of small, smaller than some of the other cards, but they're well done. And I print these out on cardstock, 100 weight cardstock to make them stand up pretty good. If you didn't want to go through all that printing and you just wanted to buy the cards that were already done, the community on eBay certainly sells those as well. Obviously, they're a little bit more expensive. I think they're about $35 or so, depending on what season you want and how detailed you want it. But I think the fact that there's no game company running it right now is advantageous to the buyer because you can get some good deals off of eBay. You can find people that maybe have gone to another game and don't want to play this anymore, or for whatever reason they want to sell their game. They're out there, and the PDF sets and the regular printed sets are out there. So everything is available for whatever season you wanted. I don't know. I don't think they have any all-star sets or anything. They might. I mean, it's hard to tell. But certainly you can buy season sets. You could probably buy individual team sets, although I haven't looked into that on eBay as of yet. I have bought a couple of season sets. One of the original ones that does not have the left-right splits with the actual cards came to me in the mail. I bought one of those. But majority of the time, I do the print and play, where I print the cards out. That way, I only have to print out what I need. So if I just want to play one game real quick between, say, the Yankees and Red Sox, I'd only have to print out the Yankee and Red Sox players, not everybody else. So because it takes a long time to print these out, so you will spend some time equities doing that. But in the long run, I do think it pays off, both financially, and it also gives you a chance to kind of preview the cards as you're doing that. So I would give this a pretty good rating as well. I think it's just as good as Replay Baseball. maybe even a hint better when you get these cards with the left-right splits on them. But and I like the fast action cards. Sometimes they can be more random than the dice, because sometimes at least personally, I have a way of rolling the same things over and over sometimes, and I get the same results over and over. So the randomness on this has never been a problem, and I do like the way the board is set up. That's a nice little feature as well. And like I said, you're not the downside to replay baseball is you have to go to that book on every result pretty much. Where in this, a lot of times you can get the result without having to go anywhere other than the fast action card. So I would give this a thumbs up as well. I don't have any major complaints about this game. The only thing I have that I could possibly find about this game that's bad, or that's could be improved, I guess, is that there are cases where the pitcher would not be involved because of the way the PB rating came out. But again, like I said, the better pitchers will have more of an impact than the lesser pitchers. So another good thing about this is the board game, when you're done, it used to be in 2 pieces, but now it's all 1 piece. It all sticks together as 1 piece. So you don't have to worry about 2 boards, split in half or whatever. It's all 1 piece here. So it's nice and sturdy. So that's my take on Payoff Pitch Baseball. For those who have not tried it, I would certainly give it a look. And they're easily available on eBay. I check eBay periodically, and I constantly see people selling these games. Some of them I think they try to get too much money for it, but you can occasionally find a game that's not too terribly inexpensive. And once you have the basic game pieces, then the card sets themselves are much less expensive to get because it's through a secondary market, not through a game company. So that's my take on that. I'm ready to move over now to History Maker Baseball, as we've got innings 5 and 6 to go here in this game, where the Yankees are up 1-0. And we'll be right back with the setup for History Maker Baseball and innings 5 through 6. Okay, we're on game 3 of our 9-5 project here, 5 games and 9 innings. We're on game number 3, History Maker Baseball, and we're picking it up in the top of the 5th. The Yankees lead the Red Sox 1-0. Just a quick overview, down and dirty, on History Maker Baseball. This is a unique game that does not use players hard and fast player statistics. It uses qualities of certain players, and they're given different qualities based on real life statistics, but they're given qualities instead to kind of give an overview of the player. In other words, a player hits a lot of home runs is considered to be a home run king or a slugger. A person who strikes out a lot is a whiffer. A batter who walks a lot is going to be patient. A pitcher who strikes out a lot of people will have the flash quality. A pitcher who's really good and has a low ERA would be given an ace quality. A pitcher who gives up a lot of runs and has a high ERA would be considered to be a workman. Different things like that. So they're given qualities rather than hardcore statistics. Now, there's a lot of, it's almost too much to go into as far as breaking this down to be a whole lot longer video than I probably want. But basically, you have this playbook that these 2 pages of the playbook will pretty much drive the results of the entire game. Now, the game is a dice-generated game. You have 3 dice, red, blue, and black. And most times the color of the dice will not matter. There's only one roll that I know of where it matters. Most of the time, it's not the number of the dice, it's the sequence of the dice. You always read the dice, lowest number to highest number. And that's the way the book is set up. And in History Maker Baseball, majority of the time, the pitcher is always given a chance to influence the at-bat. There are some places where the pitcher is blank. But for most of the time, the pitcher will at least have some influence on the at-bat. And then what you do is you check the quality based on the roll. So let's just use what I have over here, a 1-4-5. Let's look at a 1-4-5. We go to the book. Lead die of 1 is in this upper quadrant. Lead die of 2 is down here. Lead die of 3 is here. Lead die of 4, 5, 6 is here. So the lead die in this case is a 1. So we go to the lead die of 1. the next number is a 4, and the final number is a 5. So we scroll down until we can find 1, 4, 5, which is right here. And it's going to ask, is the pitcher a struggler? Well, in this case, the pitcher in our game is Nathan Eovaldi. He does not have the struggler quality, and the struggler quality can be achieved by giving up 3 consecutive base runners, but he doesn't fit that bill either. So in this case, it's asking, is it a struggler? And it's a yes/no question. If it's yes, then the result of the pitch or the at-bat is a wild pitch, and the batter is still at bat. In this case, he is not a struggler, so we're going to move on to the next result. The batter column in this situation happens to be blank, so we're going to skip that and go straight to the fielder column. And that's a ground ball to either first base or third base. Usually if it's a left-handed batter, we say it goes to first base. If it's a right-handed batter, we say it goes to third. Then in blue, it tells you about base running under this quadrant of a lead die of 1. If a runner is on first or second and can be forced, then it's a double play on ground outs. If the result's a fly out, he would hold. If it's a base hit, the runner advances 1 base on hits, 2 bases on double. Unless he's an active runner, and that's another one of those characteristics. If a runner has a lot of speed, he's a good base runner, he's considered to be active. If he's a slowpoke like David Ortiz, he would be considered to be a stoic. So in this case, an active runner would score on a base hit. With 2 outs, any runner scores from second on any hit. So that tells you on here what happens based on how many outs there are and what the result is based on this lead die of a 1. Now the other interesting thing is that some players aren't given hard, fast qualities either. They're not necessarily always going to be an ace or always going to be a slugger. They could have what they call semi-qualities, which means it'll happen about roughly 50% of the time. Let's look at Stephen Drew's card. Now, let's take a look. Let's look at Daniel Nava's card. Daniel Nava is considered to be a semi-sad sack. The little dot there means it's a semi-sad sack, and the dot corresponds to the decider die. The decider die is a 6-sided die that has 3 dots and 3 blanks. So what you would do is you can either do it with the roll, the original roll, or you can do it separately. Is if a quality is called into play that has this dot, you would roll the decider die, and in this case it came up as a dot, so that means on that at bat he would be a sad sack. If the decider die came up blank, then he would not be a sad sack for that at bat. So that's where the decider die comes in, and that's one thing about this game. No other game has anything even remotely close to a decider die, so that certainly adds to the intrigue of the game, and it's not really a word, but the enjoyment of the game. I was going to say funness, but I guess the enjoyment of the game would be on that as well. Another unique thing about this game is it incorporates umpires. It's the only game that incorporates umpires. So you can either have fictional umpires, or since I bought the 2015 set, it has the actual umpires from 2015, and they are rated. So there's certain roles in the book that send you to the umpires to check their ratings. Are they strict? Do they pretty much call it down the line with no questions asked? Are they questionable? Do they sometimes get it wrong? Are they lenient? Do they let a outside pitch slide for, call it a strike anyway? Are they respected? Those kind of things. And again, they also have the semi-qualities as well. So that's another interesting part about this game that I like is the umpires. Another thing about this game that I like is the player creation. I don't really know the formulas of the other games to know how they incorporate, how they get their numbers based on the averages and so forth. But in this game, it's easy to create players if you want to create players. And I actually had to do that with Gregorio Petit because it was not in the set. So what I did is I went to Retrosheet and got Gregorio Petit's actual numbers and plugged them into this History Maker how-to guide. Now, I'm not going to give away their secrets of how it's done because they sell these, but basically it will tell you based on, you can get his batting average and scroll down and see, is he going to be a sad sack? Is he going to be a champion? What's he going to be? So I used the how-to guide and his raw statistics. He hit 167 on the season, and based on the book, that gives him a semi-utility and a semi-sad sack quality. He had no home runs, so that gives him a scrapper quality. He struck out 16 times in 42 at-bats, and that gave him a whiffer quality because he had so many strikeouts per at-bat. He only walked 3 times in 42 at-bats, and that gave him a semi-eager quality. So those are the qualities that I made for him, and I normally would type this out, but this is impromptu, so I'm doing it in pen. He's a semi-utility, semi-sad sack, semi-eager, a whiffer, and a scrapper. He is semi-gold because he only had 1 error, and his fielding percentage was pretty good, so I gave him subjectively a rating of semi-gold. And he's a semi-prospect because this game also incorporates veterans versus rookies, and I believe this was his 2nd year, so gave him a semi-prospect card. So that's the card I just created for Gregorio Petit. All the other games obviously came with the set, and we're ready to roll here. Literally, since we're back to dice instead of the fast action cards. So, and what it does to incorporate ballparks, I did not print out the ballparks, but you can go on the Play.com website. Al Wilson is one of the contributors to that website, and he created special boards that have the picture of the stadiums and whatnot, and the ratings of the stadiums on them. And I do have one for Yankee Stadium. I just didn't feel like pulling it out right now. But when you buy the game, it does come with all the ballparks listed. And if we come down to Yankee Stadium number 2, which is the one that's from 2009 to the present time, it's a grass field. It's small on both sides versus for its right-handed batters or left-handed batters, it is small both ways. So it's small both ways. So if a ballpark check comes into play, we'll be using this small characteristic for Yankee Stadium. So I'll go ahead and go through a real quick demo of a roll here before we actually get the game going. This will be a pretend roll. This will not be the roll for the actual game. But next in line to start off the top of the 5th is Daniel Nava against Evaldi. So I'll go ahead and roll as if we're going to roll this, but this is again a practice roll just to show the way the game is presented. Okay, so it's a 1-3-4, which means we're going to put them in sequential order, 1, 3, and a 4, and the decider die is blank. So if we get a semi-quality, that will not be active for this particular at-bat. So we go to a 1-3-4. We're back in the upper quadrant where the lead die is a 1. We go 1, 3, 4, and right here it asks, is the catcher gold? Is it a gold catcher? Well, we would go to Brian McCann, who is the catcher for the Yankees. And in the fielding column, it does not say gold. It doesn't say iron either. It just says blank. So that means he is not gold, which means we do not use this result under the pitcher category. Had he been gold, it would have been a strikeout, where Nava would have had a chance to, if he was patient or had a good eye, he would be able to avoid that. But it's not a gold catcher, so we go to the next check, which is the batter check. Is the batter a champion? We go up to Daniel Nava, and I do not see the champion quality listed. So he does not have the champion quality. So therefore, we would skip that quality as well. And the play result on the fielder is outfield drama. There's a drama chart, outfield, infield, and plate drama. It's a subchart that you can be sent to on these results. And what you do on the outfield drama chart, I think it was outfield, not infield, right? Yeah, it was outfield drama. You're going to roll 2 of the dice, and we're going to check it and see whether the infielders are gold or iron, or whether they're stoic or active, and that will determine whether they make the play or potentially make an error. So I like to roll the decider die with this, so we'll roll it again, and that is a 3-5 with the decider die. So 3-5 on outfield drama. Left fielder gold. Is the left fielder gold? The left fielder for the Yankees in this case is Brett Gardner. Is he a gold fielder? He's actually semi-iron, so obviously he is not gold. So left fielder gold on that 3-5 check. Looping fly ball, can he get it? Yes, it's a fly out. So if he was gold, he would make the catch. He's not gold, so otherwise looping fly ball drops into the gap for a double. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a quick overview of the game. There's also pitchers can have freshness qualities. That's how they determine the stamina in the game. Starting pitchers from innings 1 through 3 are set to have full freshness, and there are results where it asks if the pitcher is fresh or not. When you get to innings 4, 5, and 6, that becomes semi-fresh, and you need the decider die to come up as a dot to make them fresh. And so since we're in the 5th inning of this game, even though it's the first inning that we're using History Maker Baseball, it is the 5th inning of the actual game. So both pitchers, Eovaldi and Miley, are going to be semi-fresh. And we're going to start the top of the 5th. Daniel Nava will lead things off. He is 0 for 1 with a ground ball to third base in his only at bat. I'm going to try to go ahead and roll the dice on the field of play here, and then scroll down to the book to check out what the result is. All right. The result is a 1, 2, 6 with the decider die as a yes. So a 1, again, we're in this top quadrant. Lead die has been 1. The lead die is a 1. So we got 1, 2, 6. It asks, is the pitcher fresh? How about that? Right off the bat, it asks if he's fresh. The decider die says that Nathan Eovaldi is fresh. So therefore, it's a line out to second base, and that's the end of the at-bat. It doesn't even matter what these other areas are over here. Had he not been fresh, we would have checked to see if the batter was a sad sack, which he would have been. Daniel Nava would have been a sad sack, which means he would have struck out. But it's a line out to second, so Nava lines out to second for out number 1 in the inning. And that brings up the number 8 hitter, Xander Bogaerts, the shortstop. So Xander Bogaerts against Eovaldi. And this is a 6-6-6. Wow, that's a big roll there, 6-6-6. And it's going to ask, is the pitcher an ace? No, Eovaldi is a semi-workman, so he does not have the ace qualities, so that check fails. Is the batter a sad sack? In other words, sad sack meaning he doesn't have a whole lot of power. Is he a sad sack? According to this, he's not a sad sack. So now we go to the fielder check, and it says deep drive glove. Well, glove is another one of the micro charts that talks about a deep drive being a potential home run. So we're going to find out. We're going to find out how that worked out. So the micro chart glove here, we're looking to see, and the result is, let's see, it doesn't say. All right, we're looking to see if any of the outfielders are gold. We have to have gold outfielders. If the right fielder, center fielder, or left fielder are gold, then there is a chance they could rob the home run from happening. So if we look through the outfielders in this game for the Yankees, the outfielders, are there any of them gold? Jacoby Ellsbury is iron, Brett Gardner is semi-iron, and Chris Young is neutral. So none of the outfielders are gold. So that means that we're going to go to the He Leaps chart because, well, I take that back. We roll the D6, and if it's a 4, 5, or 6, it's out of here whether they're gold or not. If we roll a 1, 2, 3, then it goes over to the He Leaps chart if it's gold. So in this case, the fact that nobody is gold means that it's going to be a home run regardless. But we'll go ahead and play it out so you can see. So we'll roll the D6. It's a 5. 5 says that ball is gone. 5 says that ball is gone, so it's a home run. But let's suppose the center fielder was gold, and we rolled a 2. Then that would be He Leaps. So that would knock it over to the He Leaps chart, and you would roll a 1, another D6. And if you roll a 1, he'd make the catch. Anything else would be a home run. So when you get to the glove chart, most often it's going to be a home run. So in this case, Xander Bogaerts has just tied the ball game with a home run. So that is a home run for Xander Bogaerts, and we now have a tie ball game at 1 apiece, thanks to that 6-6-6 roll. And usually the triplicates like that, the same number, whether it's 1-1-1, 6-6-6, 2-2-2, those are usually good things for the batter. The pitcher has to be an ace pretty much to stop those. So Sandy Leon, the number 9 hitter, is up. He walked his first time up. This is a 3-3-4. So we go to the check here for the pitcher under 3-3-4, asking is he an ace or a star? He is not an ace or a star. So if he was, the batter would pop to first, but he's not. So I'm going to go to the next category. It's asking is the batter a sad sack? Sandy Leon is a semi-sad sack. decider die says he's not a sad sack this at bat. So he's not going to line to short, which he would have done had he been a sad sack. So he's going to single to left field. It's a single to left field. Now, the caveat to that is there's a flag here next to this single to left, and the flag says an eager batter grounds out. So Sandy Leon, again, is semi-eager, but decider die says no. Now, some people will roll again, and that's what I could do here. Is I usually keep the decider die throughout the whole at bat, but some people re-roll it after each result. So if I was going to do that, in this case, I would roll the decider die to see whether Sandy Leon was eager or not, which in this case he would be eager. So instead of singling to left, he would ground out. But since the way I play, and like I said, everybody has their own little house rules, but how I play is that one decider roll goes through the whole thing. So in this case, Sandy Leon will get his single, and he is on base with one out for the next batter, Mookie Betts. So Mookie Betts is coming up to bat. Mookie Betts. He will step to the plate with Leon at first base and one out. And that's 2 consecutive hits allowed by Eovaldi. If he allows Mookie Betts to get on base either by hit or a walk, he will then become a semi-struggler. The roll is a 3-5-5. It asks, is he a struggler? No, he's not a struggler yet, so it would have been a double if he had been a struggler. It asks, is the batter a champion? Mookie Betts has several characteristics, but champion is not one of them, so we skipped that check. He would have doubled to left had he been a champion. Instead, the fielder category says he grounds out to second base. The thumb here asks if he's a whiffer. He is not a whiffer, so the ground out to second base will stand. Now, there is a runner on first base, so let's see what happens here. With a lead die of a 3, it's a fielder's choice on ground outs. So in this case, Mookie Betts will reach first base on the fielder's choice, but the runner, Sandy Leon, is out second to short on the fielder's choice. So he's out 4-6 for out number 2. Mookie Betts is at first base. There are 2 away, and that'll bring up Daniel Nava. Now, there's also manager cards in this game, and I did not bring those out for this, but there are manager cards, so I probably will not use those in just these 2 innings, but the manager cards could be used for things like stealing bases and so forth. Otherwise, the game book within the results give you results of possible stolen bases. So, with 2 outs, Mookie Betts is at first base thanks to the fielder's choice. And now that brings up the next batter in the order, which is Dustin Pedroia. So we'll see what Pedroia can do. Pedroia is up, and he is a semi-hero and a semi-slugger on his categories. And the fact that Eovaldi just got the out now, it takes him out of the running for a slugger. For a struggler. All right, 2 outs, 1 on, tied at 1. Here is the result. It's a 1-3-5. Now, this is an interesting result. This is the one time where the color of the dice matters as much as the order. A 1-3-5 is blank for the pitcher, it's blank for the batter, and it says unusual result. So in the back of the book, there is an unusual result chart, and it's based on what the lead die color is. In this case, the color is a red. Number 1 is red. So we're not going to go to the ballpark chart because that would be a black 1. And we're not going to go to the umpires because that would require the 1 to be a blue color. But we're going to go to the red. And the red has several different results depending on what the black die is. The black die is 3. So we're going to go to red 1, black 3, memorable plays in the field. And this is a micro chart where you roll 2 d6s and get the result here. All right, and I'll roll the decider die just in case it's needed. Okay, the result is 1-1. How about that? 1-1. 1-1 is going to send us to another chart, highlight reel A. So we're going to come over here to highlight reel A for rare events, and we're going to repeat the process. Roll the 2d6s with the decider die to see what happens. So we're over on highlight reel A now, and the roll is a 4-6. So under highlight reel A, a 4 and a 6, it says batter rips double, gets extra base on throwing error by outfielder. So how about that? Dustin Pedroia has just ripped a double, and he gets the extra base on the throwing error by the outfielder. Now it doesn't tell you in the game who the outfielder is, so we'll assume it to center field. So therefore, it's going to be an error on Jacoby Ellsbury on the throw. So in this case, Pedroia will double. His double will send Betts to, actually the lead die of 4 means Betts will score, because we go back to the runner advancement, and on a lead die of 4, runner advances 2 bases on single and scores on double. So the Pedroia double scores Mookie Betts. That's an earned run, so he would have scored regardless of the error. But Pedroia will move to third base thanks on an E8. So an E8 moves him to third. The Red Sox now lead it 2-1 thanks to that double by Pedroia. He has moved to third base with 2 outs thanks to the error on Ellsbury. And that brings up David Ortiz. So Ortiz is now batting. And it's a 4-5-6. I think it's kind of ironic that Steve Towers' favorite game is History Maker Baseball, and his favorite team, the Red Sox, have perked up now that we've moved to the History Maker Baseball game. Don't know if that's any coincidence or not. I just think it's kind of funny. But the Yankees still have their at-bats as well. 4-5-6. All right, a 4-5-6 is blank for the pitcher. Is the batter patient? Ortiz is not patient. Therefore, he's going to fly out to center field. And if you notice, the fly out to center field is typed in purple. When the result is typed in a color, you go to the next at-bat, it's going to be on a micro chart based on the color. The color for purple is chemistry. The color for blue is right now. And the color for red is experience. And what these charts talk about, the right now chart talks about what happened on the batter's previous at-bat, whether he's hot or cold, and you read the result off this table. The experience talks about whether he's a veteran, an icon, or whether he's a prospect rookie, and that can affect it on this chart. This chart is chemistry. It talks about having team harmony or team dissonance. In this kind of game like this, both teams are just going to be neutral by default. But we will roll 2 dice and check it against this chart for the next at-bat. Even though we're switching innings, it's still going to carry over to the Yankees' first at-bat with Stephen Drew. So, going back to the beginning here, or going back to the original result, it was a fly out to center field. So Ortiz does fly to Ellsbury to end the inning, but the Yankees do pick up 2 runs here in the top of the 5th. And we go to the bottom of the 5th with a score Red Sox 2 and Yankees 1. And Stephen Drew is up to bat against Wade Miley. And Stephen Drew will be batting off of the chemistry chart along with Miley pitching off the chemistry chart. They are both neutral, so there's no need for a decider die because there's no partial qualities. So we're going to roll 2 dice and check the chart. It's a 1-6. 1-6. So 1-6 on the chart asks batting team dissonance. Nope, the batting team is the Yankees are not dissonant, they are neutral. Had they been dissonant, Drew would have been distracted and swinging a poor pitch and pop out. Since they're not distracted, he is going to walk. So it's a walk to Stephen Drew since they are not a team of dissonance. They are neutral. So Stephen Drew will walk, and that'll bring up the second baseman, Gregorio Petit. And again, he was the player that I had to, on the fly, create a card for. That's why it looks kind of messy with my handwriting. It's not typed and printed the way I would normally do that if I was playing a full game. So Petit is up. You could think about bunting here, but they're going to go ahead and let him swing away. Since they're down 2-1, they're going to let him swing away. It is a 1-1-4. So 1-1-4, again, we're in this upper quadrant with the lead die of 1. A 1-1-4 asks, is the pitcher fresh? Remember, Wade Miley is semi-fresh. Decider Die says he's not fresh. So he is not fresh this at bat, so we don't take that result. We go to the next result. It asks, is he a sad sack or is he patient? He is a semi-sad sack, but again, Decider Die says no. And again, this is one where some people would re-roll, but I don't do that. So it's a single to right field. So on a single to right field, a lead die of 1 says runners advance 1 base on a hit. So in this case, J.D. Drew will advance to second. Petit is at first. There are no outs. And that result, again, was in purple. So we're going to go right back to the chemistry chart for the next at bat, which is Jacoby Ellsbury. So Jacoby Ellsbury is up. He is up. And there's going to be a chemistry roll. Both teams, again, are neutral. It is a 3-5. 3-5. 3-5 pitching team distance. No, they're neutral. If Boston had been dissident, an inattentive infielder would let the ball go past him for a single. But they're not. They're neutral, so it's a ground ball to the shortstop, Xander Bogaerts. And on a lead die of 3, it's a fielder's choice on the ground out. So Bogaerts was able to field the ball from Ellsbury. He will throw to Pedroia at second to get the force play on Petit for out number 1. J.D. Drew will move to third, and Ellsbury will be safe on the fielder's choice. So runners are at the corners with 1 out. Runners at the corners and 1 out, and Brett Gardner, the batter. And now we're back to the regular chart. And we'll see what Brett Gardner can do as the Yankees try to tie the ball game. It is a 1-4-6 with Decider Die. 1-4-6. So again, we're back in this quadrant of a lead die of 1. 1-4-6 asks, does he have flash? Wade Miley has semi-flash. Decider Die says he does have flash. So therefore, it is a strikeout. The only thing that can avoid a strikeout is that little eyeball there, which says a good eye, he would ground out instead of striking out. But Gardner does not have a good eye, so it is a strikeout. And it's a big one for Wade Miley to keep the runners right where they are. Runners are still at the corners, and A-Rod is the batter. So A-Rod is up. He is a home run king, but he's also semi-whiffer. So he's up with runners at the corners and 2 out as Wade Miley tries to pitch out of this. It is a 1-2-6. 1-2-6 with no Decider Die. 1-2-6. 1-2-6 asks, is he fresh? No, not this time. Decider Die has let Wade Miley down. He is not fresh, so it's not going to be a line out to second base. Is the batter a sad sack? No, Alex Rodriguez is not a sad sack. So therefore, it's a single past second base, and that's going to tie the ball game. Alex Rodriguez with his second hit, and that will score J.D. Drew with the tying run. Ellsbury on the advance, runner advances 1 hit. So he only goes 1 base, I'm sorry. So Ellsbury, lead die of 1, can only get 1 base. He will stop at second. Runners are at first and second, but we have a tie ball game now at 2-2, thanks to the base hit by A-Rod. And the Decider Die letting Wade Miley down. Had he been fresh, he could have stopped that with a line out, but he was not fresh. So now here is Mark Teixeira, runners at first and second with 2 outs. It is a 2-5-6. And I hope I didn't jinx the Red Sox by saying that they were playing well for Steve. Let's see here, 2-5-6. So now we're in this bottom quadrant, lead die of 2. 2-5-6 asks, is the pitcher a struggler? No, he's not a struggler. He's only given up 1 hit in a row, so he's not a struggler. Is the batter a champion or patient? He is semi-patient. Decider Die says he is patient, so therefore he draws a walk. So Mark Teixeira will draw a walk, and that will load the bases with 2 outs. Bases loaded, 2 outs for the catcher, Brian McCann. And Miley is on shaky ground right now. Let's see what he can do. Bases loaded and 2 outs. And you know what? I'm going to be right back. I'm going to get the manager cards because I do believe that we are going to have John Farrell is going to make a decision with his manager card. So we'll be right back. Okay, I didn't bring this up earlier. I probably should have. Each manager throughout the game, there's manager cards, and each manager has an opportunity to use 6 manager cards throughout the game. Most of the cards, once you use them, you can't use them again. So if you make a batter an icon for a particular bat, then once that card is used, you toss it, you can't use it again. Other results that have asterisks by them, you can use multiple times, like trying to steal or trying to take an extra base. You can do that. So there's different things. So even if the book says the runner only advances 1 base, you can use a manager card to try to get that extra base. And based on how fast they are, like an active runner have a better chance of being safe than, say, a stoic runner. So there's different manager cards you can use about chemistry and right now and so forth. But the manager card that John Farrell is going to use for Wade Miley is the one where he walks to the mound. You can visualize it as being a visit to the mound that the manager would make or the pitching coach would make. And it says you have a choice to add or remove any pitching quality this at bat. It says can only be used once per inning. All right. What you'd want to do here, or what he'd want to do here, Wade Miley's a semi-workman, but we want Wade Miley to be an ace this at bat. We want to have him be an ace where he can get out of this jam. So he's going to use this manager card and give Wade Miley the ace quality. He's going to add the ace quality to Wade Miley this at bat. Now it says on here that it can only be used once per inning, so I don't know if that means that once you use it you got to toss it, or whether you can use it only once per inning but you can use it again in a subsequent inning. I have to check the book on that, to be honest with you. I think I use it multiple times per game, maybe once or twice per game. So, but I may be, that's my own rule, I guess. I guess you can use a house rule to determine how often you want to do that. But in this case, they're going to make Wade Miley an ace. So the ace possibility might prevent Brian McCann from doing anything dangerous. So we're going to see if that move pays off. It is a 1, 2, 3 with the decider die. So a 1, 2, 3 says both flash and fresh. Well, you know what? He's semi-fresh because we're in the 5th inning, and he's got semi-flash quality. And the decider die says yes, he's both flash and fresh. So therefore, it is a strikeout. He gets the strikeout. Now the manager card had nothing to do with it, but we didn't know that at the time. But that strikeout gets Wade Miley out of a bad jam and holds the Yankees to just the 1 run. So after 5 complete here at Yankee Stadium, the score is Boston 2 and the Yankees 2. And we'll be right back for inning 6 on History Maker Baseball. Okay, we're starting the top of the 6th, and this is the final inning of History Maker Baseball before we move on to Payoff Pitch Baseball. So Hanley Ramirez is leading off the inning against Wade Miley. Hanley Ramirez is 0 for 2 with a strikeout. It is a 3-5-5. 3-5-5. Is the pitcher a struggler? No, he's not. Is the batter a champion? Hanley Ramirez is not a champion, so he does not double. He grounds out to second base instead, unless he's a whiffer, which he is not. So it's a ground out to second. So Hanley Ramirez is now 0 for 3 in the game. And that'll bring up the Panda Bear, Pablo Sandoval. Pablo Sandoval. And that's a 1-3-4. So again, we're in this first quadrant. 1-3-4. Ask, is the catcher gold? No, we've checked before. Brian McCann is neutral, so he's not going to be the gold quality. Is the batter a champion? Sandoval is not a champion. So we have outfield drama. So we're going right back to the drama chart. And again, we're going to roll the 2 D6s plus the decider die to see what's going to happen here to the Yankee outfield. It is a 2-4 with no decider die. 2-4. Center fielder gold. No, we know that Jacoby Ellsbury is iron, so he does not make a sensational diving catch. Otherwise, ball slips through for a base hit, a single. So that's a base hit for Sandoval, and it's maybe hard to see. This is in purple, so we're going to the chemistry chart for the next at-bat. But Sandoval does single. So 1 out and a runner on first for Mike Napoli, and it's neutral against neutral on the chemistry check. Let's see what happens here to the chemistry check. Of course, a manager card could be used to give a team harmony or dissonance, but we'll go ahead and pass that by since we're doing just a partial game. It's a 5-5. So 5-5 says pitching team dissonance. No, they're neutral. Had they been dissonance, the catcher would have missed a foul ball, and the next pitch will be hit through a single. So since they're not dissonant, it's an actual foul to the catcher, and McCann made the play. So Napoli fouls out to McCann for out number 2, and the Red Sox are down their last out here in the 6th, and it's Daniel Nava stepping to the plate. Sandoval still at first base and 2 outs. And we've got a 1-3-6. So again, we're in this lead 1 quadrant. 1-3-6 asks, is he an ace? Evaldi is not an ace, so we skip that check. Is Nava a whiffer or cold? He is a semi-whiffer, but the sire die says no, and he's not cold because he didn't strike out his last bat. So therefore we have infield drama. So we just had outfield drama, now we go to infield drama. So we're going to test the Yankee infield. It's a 3-6 with the decider die. 3-6, third baseman gold. Is the third baseman Chase Headley gold? No, Chase Headley is neutral. So third baseman is not gold. If he was, a crazy bouncing grounder recovers nicely to make the play for a ground out. Otherwise, batter safe at first on an error. So there is an error by Chase Headley, the third baseman, and that will move Sandoval to second base. Runners at first and second with 2 outs. Inning keeps alive here. And we're going to Xander Bogaerts. So Xander Bogaerts with a chance to put the Red Sox back in the lead thanks to that error by Headley. It is a 4-5-5. 4-5-5 asks, does the pitcher have flash? He has semi-flash. The sire die says he does have flash. So it is a strikeout. And because Bogaerts does not have a good eye, he cannot nullify it. It is a strikeout. So Bogaerts hit the home run his last time up, but he strikes out this time. And that ends the inning with nothing doing for the Red Sox. We go to the bottom of the 6th, and it's still 2-2. And stepping up for the Yankees to try to atone for that error is Chase Headley. Chase Headley. Headley is 0 for 1. He's walked and he got thrown out the plate trying to score. So it's a 2-5-6. 2-5-6. So far the umpires have not had an effect in this game. 2-5-6 asks, is the pitcher a struggler? No, he's not. Is the batter a champion or patient? He is neither. He's a semi-eager and a semi-whiffer. So we got infield drama. So we're right back to the drama chart again. This time we're testing the Red Sox infield. And it says a 3-5, which says third baseman iron. Is the third baseman Pablo Sandoval iron? Well, let's find out. Pablo Sandoval, and usually you would have these written on the score sheet ahead of time, but didn't do it this time. Pablo Sandoval is in fact an iron third baseman. So he is iron. So that's going to affect this play. 3-5, third baseman iron. Yes, he is. Not able to make routine play. Ball rolls past for a single to left field. So he singles to left. Otherwise, it would have been a ground out. But it's a base hit. He was unable to make the routine play. It wasn't an error. It's just one of those ones where he couldn't get to it that most third basemen might have or would have. And it's a base hit for Chase Headley. And that result was in purple. So we're going right back to the chemistry chart. So chemistry chart is in effect for Chris Young's at-bat against Wade Miley. Again, both teams neutral. It is a 2-4. So 2-4, batting team harmony. No, remember they're neutral. If they had harmony, he would connect on a bloop single. Otherwise, it's a fly out to left. So Chris Young flies out to left for out number 1. And we go to Stephen Drew. Stephen Drew, the batter. He walked and scored his last time up. And we get a 3-5-6. Now this is the one lefty-righty check that's in the game. And that is the 3-5-6 check. It says the same, which means does the pitcher throw with the same hand that the batter bats with? In this case, they are the same because Wade Miley's a lefty, Stephen Drew is a lefty. So if you got a lefty on lefty, it is a strikeout. So Stephen Drew strikes out because Wade Miley is a left-handed pitcher. Had he been a right-handed pitcher, we would have moved on and he might have possibly gotten a hit. But that's the one lefty-righty check in this game is the 3-5-6 check. And it will come up maybe once or twice a game. All right, Gregorio Petit is up with 2 outs and a runner at first. And we've got a 3-4-5. It asks, is the catcher iron? Nope, Sandy Leon is actually a gold catcher, so he's not iron. So we skip that. Does the batter have a good eye? No, he does not. Therefore, he strikes out. So Gregorio Petit strikes out. The result's in blue, but that doesn't matter because that's the end of our time with History Maker Baseball. But nothing doing for the Yankees in the 6th. So we've completed 6 innings through 3 games, and we are tied at 2. And now it's time for Payoff Pitch Baseball for innings 7 through 8. Okay, it's game 4 of the 9-5, or 5 and 9. It's Payoff Pitch Baseball. And what makes this game rather unique is there's 2 methods of play. You can either do the dice method or the fast action card method. And I'm going to show an inning of both. So we'll start with the fast action card. And what that really does is just simulate the rolls of the dice. And I'll look at a couple of player cards and just show you how they are read and how that's factored in. So the first at bat, and this is going to be a practice at bat. This will not be the real at bat. The first at bat, let's say Jacoby Ellsbury is facing Nathan Eovaldi. This is again one of those games where it's not a 50-50 split, but the pitcher has an effect on every at bat. So there's a number here 2 through 12 on the pitcher card, and you can see on here, depending on what you roll, it'll be tougher or easier for a batter to get a hit. So you see Nathan Eovaldi's thing here. So what we're going to do is the fast action card has a number for the simulation on 2 D6s and a simulation on a 2 D10. The 2 D6 checks the pitcher card. The 2 D10 checks the batter card. So, and the batter cards are split into either versus right-handed pitching or left-handed pitching. And they're also split based on what the findings were on this first check with the pitcher. So, for instance, suppose we had an at-bat coming up right now, Ellsbury against Eovaldi. We'd flip the first card, and the first card would show a 5 as a 2D6 simulation. The 5 on Eovaldi would be under his tough category. So that means we would come over to Ellsbury, and we would know against a right-handed pitcher, we'd be looking in this bracket right here where the tough category is. 1 through 35 is a strikeout. 36 through 37 is a double, 38 through 49 is a single, and anything else is going to fall into the out chart. So we're going to flip the next fast action card, check the 2D10 result, and cross-reference it against Ellsbury's tough category. The flip is a 73. All right, 73 is outside of the range of the tough on Ellsbury, which means he makes an out. But we need to know what kind of an out. A 73 falls into the 72 through 81 category, which means he flies out to the center fielder. In this case, in this case it would have been Mookie Betts. So that's just the way that play turns out on those checks. And most plays are going to be just that simple. Now there will be some where you have to check runner advancement and so forth. And on the fast action cards, all that information is going to be on the card itself. So if there's a single, it'll tell you how much they advance. If it's a double, it'll tell you how the runners advance. If there's an error, it'll tell you what kind of an error and who made it. There's a ballpark card that comes with each team. And there's different plays like wheelhouse and in play. So parks that give up a lot of home runs like Yankee Stadium does to left-handed pitching. A D10 check of a 1 to 171 rather, would be a wheelhouse, whereas opposed with a right-handed batter hitting, it would only be a 1 through 51. And then there's different error checks based on what the fast action card would tell you. So, but the key thing about this game is that it's not a 50-50 game. You're going to, both the pitcher and the batter have equal influence on the at-bat. So, let's go ahead and play an inning, and not just an inning, but the 7th inning, as we were doing when we finished up History Maker Baseball. And I prematurely stopped that History Maker video, and I forgot to give my overall impressions of History Maker Baseball, so I'll do that real quickly. History Maker Baseball is a very entertaining game. It has that game feel to it more than those hardcore statistics. It's not trying to compete with some of these other games that focus in on hardcore statistics and whatnot. It's a game that has player qualities versus hardcore statistics. But I got to tell you, the qualities turn out to be very realistic in the gameplay. So I think the gameplay is very simple. It's easy to learn. There's not much downside to the game that I can think of, other than the fact that if you're trying to do an as-played replay, not all the cards come with the set, so you have to create them. But like I said, if you get the player card creation pamphlet from play.com, they're very easy to create, and you can slot them right in. The only downside in the actual gameplay that I saw was that, in my opinion, it doesn't offer enough of the left-right splits. You get that 1 3 5 6 check, but that's it. So I think it does lack a little bit on the left-right checks. I have in the past tried to tinker with that, but I haven't really gone back to it yet. I am doing a full season replay with the Atlanta Braves, all 162 games. I've gone through about 9 games so far, but I want to give that game engine a test through 162 games so I can find out for myself how it performs over the long haul. It's kind of hard to tell when you just play a one-off game by itself how it's going to do. But overall, other than left-righty splits or lack thereof, to me, History Maker Baseball is one of the better games out there, and I highly recommend it, particularly for someone who's starting out. I think that and Replay Baseball are the 2 easiest ones to learn. This game, Payoff Pitch, is a little bit more detailed, particularly if you're playing the dice version. So you might want to play this one when you're a little bit more comfortable with it. Although, like I said, it does give the full advantage of both the batter and the pitcher being effective in the play itself. So I'll go ahead and do the first inning here, the 7th inning, with the fast action cards, and then I'll stop and show the dice for inning 8 and how that's played. But right now we've got Sandy Leone leading off the top of the 7th against Evaldi. Now Evaldi, we've gone through 6 innings, and he's got a fatigue rating of 6 here. So what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to go ahead and start using the bullpen. So Evaldi's day is actually going to be done. And with Sandy Leone, Mookie Betts, and Dustin Pedroia coming up, mostly right-handed hitters, we're going to go to a right-handed bullpen pitcher, and we're going to use Dylan Betances. Dylan Betances is going to come in and pitch for the Yankees. So Dylan Betances is going to come in to pitch here in the top of the 7th inning for the Yankees. And you can see he has a lot of tough in his card, and he has a lot of patience. So he did walk a few. As you can see on his stats, in 84 innings, he did walk 40 batters, but he struck out 131. So there was a lot of no contact there, either by walks or by strikeouts. So he will be facing the new pitcher, Dylan Betances, will be facing Sandy Leone to start the top of the 7th. And we'll give the first check. It's a 7. It's a 7, and that means we're in the tough range. So Sandy Leone against the right-handed pitcher is going to be using these numbers in the tough range. You can see, had he been facing a left-hander, his tough range would have been either a strikeout or a regular out. But at least here he's got a slight chance of getting some hits, depending on what's flipped for the D10. So let's check the 2D10 result. It's a 78. 78 is out of the tough range. It's actually going to be a ground ball to second. That's a G4. I'm not sure if this phone, whose camera quality is not the best, is picking this up, but that's actually a G4 there. So it's a ground ball to second. Sandy Leone is out. And we go to the top of the order, Mookie Betts. So Mookie Betts will flip. It's an 11. And 11 is in the patient category. So Mookie Betts has a chance to get a walk or a hit here. We're in the patient category, in this yellow category. And we'll flip and see what the result is. It's a 37. So Mookie Betts' 37 is actually a triple. He found his 1 triple result. The 37 against a right-hander is a triple. So Mookie Betts has just hit a 1-out triple. And he is now at third base with 1 out, and the Red Sox have a chance to break through the tie and take the lead with Dustin Pedroia. And they're going to have to, the Yankees have to play the infield in here, try to cut the run off. Let's see what Pedroia can do. It's a 6. It's a 6, which is back in the tough range. So we'll see what the flip is on the result here. It's a 33. So tough 33. Actually, Pedroia, being the good hitter that he is, found a base hit because 27 to 42 is a base hit in the tough range. So we would normally, if the runner was on first or second, we'd flip another card to check on runner advancement. But since the runner's at third already, we know he's going to score. There's no need to do that. So Pedroia has singled home Mookie Betts, and the Red Sox have taken a 3-2 lead here in the top of the 7th. And Betances is a little bit chagrined as he is getting roughed up here. And David Ortiz, the batter, Betances, it says previous, I'm going to skip that. 5, it's a number 5, which is in the tough range. So Ortiz in the tough range, a 71. 71 is out of the range there, but it is going to be a ground ball to short. And on a ground ball to short, with the infield in, ground ball to short, they're going to have to hold Pedroia. So it's a 6-3 ground out for Ortiz. Pedroia, I'm sorry, the infield wasn't in. Pedroia's at first base. It's a potential double play. My bad. Let me rephrase that. The infield was in on the Pedroia bat. They're at double play depth now. So the 71 result is a ground ball to short. Now with the runner at first, we need to figure out whether it's a double play or not. And the way you do that is both the pitcher and batter have double play ratings. The double play rating here is an 8 for Betances, and the double play rating for Ortiz is an 8. So we need the 2d6 check to be less than or equal to an 8. And in this case, we use the same card, and it is. The 6 is less than the 8 on both of these checks. So therefore, it is a double play. It is a 6-4-3 double play, and the inning is over. So kind of messed it up a little bit. Apologize for that. Got a little bit confused, but the bottom line is now the Red Sox do score the run. Now, had the 2d6 been something like an 11 that was above an 8, then we'd have to flip the next card and check the out range and see whether it was a fielder's choice or the runner advancing. But in this case, it was a double play because Ortiz is a slow runner and Betances is pretty good at getting double plays. So that's the end of the bottom of the 7th. We go to the 7th inning stretch. Wade Miley has a fatigue rating of 7, so he can go one more inning without having any issues. And he's got a 3-2 lead to work with. So Jacoby Ellsbury is going to lead things off here. And the flip is a 6. So a 6 on Wade Miley is tough. So we're in the tough range, and we're going to be looking at the versus left-handed pitching column because Miley is a lefty. So we're going to look at the tough versus left-handers for Ellsbury. So the 2d10 check is a 50. A 50 tough versus left-hander is actually a base hit. So Jacoby Ellsbury fought that one off and gets himself a base hit. So Jacoby Ellsbury leads off with a base hit. And that'll bring up Brett Gardner, another lefty-on-lefty matchup against Wade Miley. It's a 4, so that says ballpark. So for ballpark, when we go to ballpark, we're going to look and see whether he has put one in the wheelhouse or whether it's in play. Now, left-handed batters have a 1 through 71 chance of finding the wheelhouse. So we're going to flip a new fast action card, check the 2d10, and see if it falls in the range of 1 to 71. The flip is an 89, so it did not hit that range. He found the in-play range. So that means we're going to go back to Gardner's card in the in-play category versus left-handed pitching, flip another fast action card, and refer to this column right here, or this row. So we flip another fast action card, we get a 91. A 91 is a ground ball to second. Now runner's at first, so let's check the two double play ratings here. We got 7 for Miley and we got 6 for Gardner. So that means the 2d6 has to be a 6 or less. It's actually a 10. So on a 10, what we need to do, and you can either use the same card or flip a new one. I like to flip a new one. We'll flip a new one and we'll check the out category of the infielder and see what it says. And it says, let's see here, infielder, it says line out, but that doesn't really make any sense since it's a ground out. So I'm going to go ahead and call it a fielder's choice and say that Gardner reaches on the fielder's choice and Ellsbury is out 4-6. So there's one away with Gardner at second base, and Alex Rodriguez is the batter, A-Rod. And with A-Rod coming up, and he's gotten 2 hits off of Miley, so they're going to go to the bullpen. They're going to go to the bullpen, and that's going to be it for Wade Miley. And they're going to bring in Junichi Tazawa, the right-hander. So Junichi Tazawa is the new pitcher for the Red Sox, as they don't want Miley facing A-Rod again. So Tazawa is on. They don't get any perks for being the first batter or any of that kind of stuff. It's just straight righty on righty opportunity here. But you can see Tazawa does have a lot of tough spots on his card. So we'll see what happens. Flip is a 9. 9 is actually patient. So A-Rod found a patient category. So we're going to check this block here for A-Rod in the patient category and see what happens, see if he gets a walk. It's a 57. So 57 is actually going to be a base hit. Is A-Rod found his single category here. So a single category, and sometimes the running result is also determined by where the hit came from. In other words, did it come from the wheelhouse, did it come from the patient, and so forth. So if we look here, and the instruction manual is pretty thorough, I think, and easy to understand. So let me open that up here and turn to that section. It says, all right, base running rules. It says, when a hit result comes from the batter's patient section, the lead runner has the option to advance the same number of bases as the hit, or advance the same number of bases as the hit and then attempt an extra base. Please refer to the runner advancement coach's choice to attempt an extra base. Well, we're going to, for simplicity's sake, we're just going to go ahead and say that Gardner is going to just stay with the 1 base advancement. So he will be at second base, and A-Rod's at first base. Runners at first and second with 1 out for Mark Teixeira. You don't want to take a chance of getting thrown out on the bases with the big hitters coming up. So Teixeira is up, switch hitter against Tazawa. It's a 9, so we've under patient again. It's the second 9 that he's flipped over. So we'll do the check again. It's a 59. So Teixeira, 59 patient. He's actually plunked. He's hit by the pitch. 58-62 says he's hit by the pitch. So Tazawa has just plunked Teixeira, and that will load the bases. Bases are loaded with 1 out, and with a lefty Brian McCann coming up, the Red Sox are going to go to their bullpen for a lefty of their own, and it's going to be Robbie Ross. So Robbie Ross is going to come into the ball game, or is it going to be Breslow? Let's find out. Could be Ross. I'm going to go ahead and go with Ross. So Robbie Ross is going to come into the ball game. Robbie Ross. He is going to be the new Red Sox pitcher as they play percentages lefty against lefty. And let me go back to my little board here and start marking off the guys that are being used here. So Robbie Ross is being used, and Tazawa's already been used. And for the Yankees, Betances has been used. No one else. Everyone else is still available off the bench and in the bullpen. All right, so Robbie Ross is on in a big spot as McCann is up with the bases loaded. So Tazawa did not do very well. He faced 3 batters and got a fielder's choice and hit a batter and gave up a single. So Tazawa pitched a third of an inning, and that was it. And I'll take that back. He didn't even get a third of an inning. He came in and hit a batter and gave up a hit, so he got nobody out. It was Miley who pitched 6 1/3. So I'll get it right here. All right, so he faced 2 batters. He hit one and gave up a hit batter on the other, and he gave up a hit on the other. So not very good for Tazawa, but Ross is going to come in and try to save the day here and get him out of this mess. Bases loaded, 1 out, and it's a 3-2 lead at the moment, but that lead is in jeopardy. McCann against Robbie Ross. It's a 7, so we're in the tough category for Robbie Ross, and the result is a 75. So a 75 against a lefty is out of range in the tough category. A 75 here is a fly ball to center, and a fly ball to center could be a potential sacrifice fly. It depends on whether it's a short fly or a long fly. So we need to flip another card to determine the out. The out is a short fly, so therefore the runners are not able to advance. The runners are not able to advance. Mookie Betts makes the catch and gets the ball back in quickly. And that'll bring up Chase Headley, switch hitter, with the bases loaded and 2 outs as Robbie Ross tries to get out of this. Here's the flip. It's a 9, so we're under patient again. And Chase Headley, the result is a 64. 64 patient against a lefty. He's going to be out of range. The 64 says it's a ground ball to short, and with the third out, doesn't matter if it's a fielder's choice or not. We'll just call it a 6-3 ground out. And the Red Sox get out of that jam. Stays a 3-2 ball game. Good job by Robbie Ross. And we'll come back for the 8th inning with the score still Red Sox 3, Yankees 2. And we'll look at the dice version. Okay, we're ready to start at the top of the 8th, and we switch to the dice version, and we'll talk about a little bit about the dice here. It's going to be very similar gameplay to what we had before. Instead of having the fast action card replicate 2d6s, we actually have 2d6s. So the 2d6s will tell you where you are, whether you're patient or whatever. And then there's 2 10-sided die, 1 each, that tell you for the batter result. Now, I'm not sure how most people do it. What I usually do is I count the black die to be the 10s and the white die to be the 1s. You can obviously do it either way. I'm not even sure if the book says one way or the other, really tit for tat, but you should be consistent. So if you're going to use the black die to be the 10s, then you should stick that way. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have the black die be the 10s and that be the 1s. So in this case, that would be a 23. And if I wanted to be a 32, I would have to make this a 2 and this a 3, then that would be a 32. So this is the 10s, multiply it by 10, multiply it by 1, and get your result that way. And then what you're going to do, like I said, a lot of times the result will be on this card, but if it's not, if you have to check base runner advancement and so forth, you've got these charts here, same with defense, that you would refer to. So may or may not have to refer to those charts here in the 8th inning. We'll find out. So let's see what happens. Now, there's also varying ways to do this. You could roll all 4 dice at one time. My preference that I like to do when I play the dice version is roll the 2 D12 or D6s first, figure out where I am on the chart, and then roll the 2 D10s to get the final result. It's kind of similar to this is the first card flip on the fast action, and that's the second flip on the fast action. But you could certainly roll all 4 at one time and wouldn't be any problem with that. But here we go. Hanley Ramirez is going to bat here to lead off the top of the 8th. He's facing Dylan Betances, who's in his 2nd inning of work, although the Yankee bullpen is working right now. And let's see what Betances can bring to the table. It's a 9, so we found the patient. So we know that we're under the patient category for Hanley Ramirez, so we know we're going to be in this block right here. Now, we're going to roll the 2 D10s and see what we get. And that is a 58, because remember the 5s are the 10s and the 8s are the 1s. That is a 58. So 58 is out of range. And if we come down here, 58 is a fly ball to the right fielder. So Hanley Ramirez has just flied to right for out number 1. And that'll bring up Pablo Sandoval. And we go through the same routine again. In fact, this time I'll roll all 4 together just for the heck of it. Okay, so we know we got a 37 for the D12s, and we've got an 8 for the D6s. The 8 is tough, so Sandoval is going to have a 37 under the tough range, and that's a base hit. So Sandoval has found a single, so it's his third hit of the game. He is 3 for 4, and he has found a single to get on base here for Mike Napoli. And Betances may be just about done. They do have Justin Wilson, the lefty, in the bullpen, ready to go. But Napoli, it's a righty on righty, so they're going to go ahead and let Betances finish this out against Napoli. The roll is a 9, so we're under patient again. And let's see what happens in the patient roll. Patient is a 94. So a 94 is definitely out of range. A 94 is a fly ball to the left. So Napoli flies this to left field for out number 2. And that'll bring up the switch hitter, Daniel Nava. He is a lefty switch hitter, but he was much more, or actually he wasn't effective against either party, but he's even worse against lefties. So the Yankees are going to go ahead and make the move and bring in Justin Wilson, the lefty. So Justin Wilson, left-handed reliever, is into the ball game now for the Yankees to replace Betances with Sandoval at second base and 1 out. So Justin Wilson will take over. And we're ready to go. Nava against Wilson. The roll is a 5, and that is going to be under the patient as well. Let's see what Nava can do. Nava, a 54. 54, patient 54. He gets hit by a pitch. So he has a wide range of hit by pitch against lefties. So he gets plunked right out of the gate. Justin Wilson plunks him, moves Sandoval up to second base. So now runners are at first and second. And we've got Xander Bogaerts stepping to the plate. But he will not face Justin Wilson because Xander Bogaerts hit 365 against left-handed pitching. So he is going to have a very short outing, Mr. Wilson. Only have 1 batter faced, and he hit him, much like Tazawa did. And a right-hander is coming on for the Yankees, and it's going to be David Carpenter, the right-hander. So David Carpenter is on to pitch to Xander Bogaerts as they cannot afford to give up any more runs. They're already down 3-2. So here is Carpenter against Bogaerts. It's a 6, which is under the patient again. Bogaerts under patient, and it is an 82. So an 82 is out of range on the patient, and it's a fly ball to center, and the inning is over. So Carpenter pitches out of that mess, and we go to the bottom of the 8th with the score still Red Sox 3 and the Yankees 2. And Robbie Ross is still in there for the Yankees, but I believe he is going to be replaced because Chris Young is the leadoff hitter, and Chris Young annihilated left-handed pitching to a 327 clip. Right-handers he only hit 182 against. Now, if they bring in a reliever, the Yankees could counter with a pinch hitter. So what do you do in this case? They're going to go ahead and bring in the righty and make Joe Girardi make a move if he cares to make a move. So it's going to be the right-hander, Edward Mujica. Ed Mujica is coming in for the Red Sox to pitch the bottom of the 8th. Ed Mujica. So Ed Mujica is in, and he'll be facing Chris Young, but Chris Young will not bat. Chris Young will be called back. He'll be called back, and Carlos Beltran will come in to pinch hit. So Carlos Beltran is going to come on and pinch hit. So lots of activity here. Beltran is going to take over for Chris Young. He will pinch hit and then play right field in the 9th. So Beltran is the new hitter. Mujica is the new pitcher. So we go to our little board here, tally board, to see who we have left. And it looks like Beltran has been used. And Carpenter has been used. Justin Wilson has been used. And Mujica has now been used. And that's it. So that's who we have left for both teams. Red Sox with 4 relievers, Yankees with 4 relievers, Red Sox with 4 batters, Yankees with 3 batters. So This is going to be Beltran leading off the bottom of the 8th against the new pitcher, Ed Mujica. So Ed Mujica will be in there to face Beltran. Beltran, a switch hitter. And it's a 7, so that means we're in the tough category for Mujica. And let's see what Beltran can do with this tough pitch. It is a 15. That was a 1 there. It was a 15, and a 15 is a strikeout. So tough and low numbers generally lead to strikeouts. So Beltran takes the whiff, and there's one away for Stephen Drew. Drew, the batter. It is a 3-4, which is a 7. I've got to make sure I get my games right here. It's a total of 7, which is tough. Stephen Drew in the tough category against a righty. It is a 53. 53 tough is out of range, so it's a fly ball to left field. So Stephen Drew flies to left for out number 2. And Gregorio Petit is the scheduled batter, but he will not bat. He will get pinch hit for here. And the pinch hitter is going to be Garrett Jones. They're going to go with Garrett Jones. They want somebody that has some pop. So Garrett Jones is going to bat, and then Didi Gregorius is going to come into the ball game to play short, and Drew will move to play second. So pinch hitter is Garrett Jones. Garrett Jones. Gregorius will come in the 9th to play short, and Stephen Drew will move over to play second in the 9th inning. All right, so Garrett Jones, big opportunity here against Ed Mujica. Looking for the long ball. Joe Girardi trying to find lightning in a bottle. It's a 9, so that's ballpark. So ballpark, that's a big opportunity with a lefty because that ballpark wheelhouse range is pretty high. So we're going to see what the 2D10 say as far as the ballpark. It is a 76, so he just missed being in the wheelhouse. He's in the in-play range instead. So we'll roll the 2D10s again. And we get a 31. A 31. In-play 31, he just missed it. 31 is a ground ball to the first baseman. So it's a ground ball to Napoli, and the inning is over. And our time with Payoff Pitch Baseball is over. But there was the dice version and the fast action card version. And we'll go ahead and make the defensive changes real quick. Gregorius is coming in to play shortstop, and Stephen Drew will move from shortstop to second base. So that's going to be the end of the game as far as Payoff Pitch Baseball goes. We're going to move on to Strat-O-Matic for the 9th to see if Boston can hold on. As far as my opinion of Payoff Pitch Baseball and the gameplay and whatnot, it's one of my favorite games for several reasons, but one is you have the flexibility of playing either with the dice or with the fast action cards. You have your choice either way you want to go, and some people even play a hybrid and will play the fast action cards, will play the dice to get the result, and instead of going to all these tables on these charts, they'll use the fast action card to determine everything else. They'll just use the dice to do this portion and then use the fast action card to do everything else. Again, these are cards that I downloaded in PDF, so you do have the option, and a much cheaper option, of doing the PDF for the player cards, and they also come in color. The cards you get printed from Payoff Pitch are excellent quality, but they are black and white, much like the fast action cards are, but they're still high quality nonetheless. So it's personal preference there as well. The customer service in the company is wonderful. It's about the best I've ever seen, and so I don't really have a whole lot of negatives to say about this game. It's definitely high up there on my priority list, even though I haven't done a lot of videos on it lately. I did participate in the Kickstarter program for the 1973 set, so I did get that in the mail, and have played a game or two with that. Not sure if I'll do a season replay with it or just maybe some one-off games. But I do enjoy the set, and I do enjoy Payoff Pitch Baseball. It's an excellent game. if you use the fast action cards, the curve of learning the game is not quite as bad. I found that the charts with the dice can be a little cumbersome in the beginning, but once you get the hang of it, it goes pretty smoothly. So the overall learning curve is not that great in the game. It's pretty good. That said, if you're just starting out, you'd probably want to get your feet wet with either Replay Baseball or History Maker Baseball, but you don't need to be a rocket scientist to figure this game out. It goes pretty smoothly. The results I think are very accurate. The one improvement I think I would like to see, if possible, and it probably won't ever happen, but hey, you never know, and that would be to have the pitcher card have left-right splits on it the same way the batter card does. So for instance, Wade Miley, maybe, if this is his result in general, maybe break that down. So say if he's facing a left-handed batter and he rolls a 10, he gets tough. But if he's facing a right-handed batter with a 10, it's in play. Something along those lines. Maybe cut this in half, and the way the batter card is, and structure it pretty much like the batter card. And that way the lefty-righty check is done not only with the pitcher but with the batter. But that's a very minor, I won't even call it a nitpick. That's more of just an observation that I think would be kind of neat. But like I said, it probably won't ever happen, but that's okay. The gameplay is certainly fantastic the way it is. So that's my impression there. I give it definitely a thumbs up, and can't go wrong with any of the 4 games that I've played so far. And now we're going to the last and final game, Strat-O-Matic, and I definitely like Strat-O-Matic, although it does have a few downfalls here and there. It's still one of the classic games out there. So we'll go ahead and finish this one up for Payoff Pitch. Give it 2 thumbs up, and we'll move on to inning number 9 and Strat-O-Matic. Okay, we're ready for Strat-O-Matic Baseball. It's inning 9, and this is the 5th and final game of the 9-to-5 project. And we are picking this game up, top of the 9th. Red Sox lead it by the score of 3-2. And let's go through a sample of play, just for anybody who's unfamiliar with Strat-O-Matic. This is truly a 50-50 game. You notice on the batter cards, they have the columns 1, 2, and 3. And on the pitcher cards, they have the columns 4, 5, and 6. So with the dice, there's 1 white die and 2 red die. The white die will determine which column we're going to use. So in this case, let's roll the white die. It's a 6. So the 6 means we're going to go to the batter card, David Carpenter. So David Carpenter will affect this at bat. Sandy Leone has absolutely nothing to do with this at bat anymore. But over the course of a season, it's theorized that will even out. But in this one-off case here, Sandy Leone is irrelevant at this point, other than the fact that he's he's a switch hitter. Switch hitter tells you that's the only thing you need from him. So that means Carpenter, actually, we're going to read from this side, because the blue is against lefties, the red is against righties. Sandy Leone is a switch hitter against the right-hander, so he would be batting left-handed. So we would be in this column for David Carpenter, and then we'd roll 2d6s to get the result in the column. The result is a 5. So a 5 tells us that it's a ground ball, second base A. Now the A and whatnot is referring to base runner advancement and so forth, but in the case where the bases were empty, it'd simply be a 4-3 ground out. So that's one of the knocks on this game, is that it's a 50-50 split. So in this instance, Sandy Leone, he's not a very good hitter, but had you had a really good hitter up there and rolled a 6, he would be taken out of the equation. But again, the theory is, and the rationalization is, that over 100 and some games, or if you play a full season, that the times that you rotate between the pitcher and catcher even itself out, and you're still going to get the accurate results that you're looking for. Now, the one thing good about this game is it does have the left-right splits, which I definitely am a fan of and believer in. So you do have 2 separate columns for the hitter and the pitcher, versus left and versus right, and I think that adds a lot of strategy to the game. So what we're going to do here, also, they have player ratings. Their defensive checks are done by the player ratings. And I'm playing the advanced rules, so we have an advanced fielding chart. And when that's called for, we're going to check out the chart and see if the player made the catch, if he made an error, or allowed a base hit. There's also a D20 that goes along with the 3D6s. And anytime you have a split chance, like some of these cards have split chances. For instance, if we roll a 7 here, a 4-7, a 1 through 7 would be a double, and an 8 through 20 would be a single. So you'd have to roll the D20. You get a 20 in this case, and that means it would be a single, not a double. So that's the D6 and D20 characteristics. So that's pretty straightforward there. Now what I'm going to do here in the top of the 9th, David Carpenter finished the top of the 8th for the Yankees, but he's going to leave. He will exit, and Andrew Miller will be the new pitcher for the Yankees. So Andrew Miller is in, and I have taken him off the roster remaining players. So now the Yankees just have 3 pitchers in their bullpen remaining. They only have 1 pinch hitter left, and that's the backup catcher, J.R. Murphy. Red Sox are pretty well stacked on their bench because they haven't had to go to that, given the fact they're in the lead. Now, Ed Mojica just finished pitching the bottom of the 8th for the Red Sox, but Tommy Lane, a left-hander, is in the bullpen for the Red Sox to try to close it out, and he will come in to pitch the 9th because the Yankees will have Ellsbury and Gardner coming up 1 and 2, 2 left-handed hitters. So that's why Tommy Lane, who was very effective against left-handed hitting, will be in for the Red Sox to start the 9th because, again, Koji Uehara on April 10th was not available to pitch. So we're going to start the top of the 9th. It is Sandy Leone against the new pitcher Andrew Miller, and we'll see what happens. It's a 4-7, so a 4 means we're under Miller's card. Sandy Leone is a right-handed batter, so in this case, he's switch hitter, but he's batting right, so it's a 4, column 4. The number 7 is a strikeout. So Sandy Leone strikes out to start the top of the 9th, and we'll go back to the top of the order and Mookie Betts. So Mookie Betts is up to face Andrew Miller as the Red Sox try to look for an insurance run. They cling to a arduous 3-2 lead. It is 6-3, so again, against a right-hander, column 6. A 3 is going to be a split chance. A 1-18 is a home run, and a 19 and 20 is a flyout. So it's a good chance that we're going to have a home run here. Now the N means that the batter has to have normal power against left-handed pitching. Mookie Betts does have normal power against left-handed pitching. If he was a weaker hitter, that would be a way to keep weak hitters from hitting home runs by having that extra check. But Mookie Betts passes that check. He did hit 18 home runs on the season. So we're going to roll the D20, and as long as it's not a 19 or a 20, if it's anything else, 1 through 18, then the Red Sox have just extended the lead thanks to Mookie Betts. And it is a 14, even though it went off the table, a 14, so Mookie Betts has just hit a home run off of Andrew Miller, the ace closer. That is the second home run for the Red Sox in this game, as Bogaerts went yard earlier, and now the Red Sox have a 4-2 lead. Joe Girardi is not a happy man right now, and we've got Dustin Pedroia followed by David Ortiz. It's a 3-8, so 3-8. This time we're off the batter's card. Pedroia a 3, and an 8. We've got a split chance. 1-5 is a single. 6-20 is a line out. So you can see where the D20 comes into play quite often. The roll on the D20 is a 3, so that is a single. A 3 is a single for Pedroia. So he went against the odds and got his single there. And now here is David Ortiz, and Andrew Miller is getting roughed up here early on. He does get to face David Ortiz lefty on lefty, though, so we'll see what happens. It is a 3-12. So Ortiz against the left-handed pitcher, a number 3, and a number 12. That is a walk. So David Ortiz draws a walk, keeps the line moving, and runners are at first and second with only 1 out. And Hanley Ramirez, the batter for the Red Sox, And the Yankees in their bullpen, they're going to have activity from the right-hander, and it's going to be Esmil Rogers. So Esmil Rogers is loosening in the bullpen in case Andrew Miller falters any further. Right now it's Hanley Ramirez stepping to the plate, 2 on and 1 out. It is a 6-3. So against a right-hander, a 6. We're in the same boat again. Do you believe that Andrew Miller has just found that same result again? And Hanley Ramirez has normal power, so it looks like it could be another home run here. 1 through 18, and he will do it. It's a 17. He did it. So how about that? Hanley Ramirez goes yard. I hope you're still tuned in, Steve Tower. I hope you didn't check us out or check me out after this long video. If you did, you just missed a 3-run homer by Hanley Ramirez, and that has kind of blown this game open now. 4 runs have come in the inning, and the Red Sox now lead it 7-2, and Andrew Miller just did not have it today. He just really was struggling here, so he's going to come out, and Esmil Rogers is the new pitcher. He will be in. So Esmil Rogers is in to face Pablo Sandoval, and that's a 4-5. So it's a 4, and Sandoval's batting lefty, so it's a 4 and a 5. That is a walk. So the Yankee bullpen is just imploding here as Sandoval walks, and now we'll get Mike Napoli stepping to the plate. So Mike Napoli, the batter, he's 0 for 4. He's the only Red Sox that really is struggling in this game. 6-7. He's not going to struggle anymore. He's going to get another walk. So that's a 6-7, so that is another walk. So it is yet another walk. 2 on, still only 1 out in the inning. And Daniel Nava, the batter, as the Red Sox are in danger of batting around. So Daniel Nava against Rogers. And this is a 6-7. 6-7, Rogers righty against Nava, the lefty, is yet another walk. 3 consecutive walks. So that's 3 consecutive walks to load the bases, and Joe Girardi is beside himself. He's like, what do I need to do to get out of this? So we got Sander Bogaerts. He's the 9th batter in the inning. Sandy Leone is on deck, and he struck out to lead off the inning. Let's see if he can get Bogaerts. It's a 1-3. So a 1-3 against the right-hander. 1-3. We got a split chance. 1-4 is a single, and 5-20 is a line out. So we'll use the D20. It has not been kind to the Yankees this inning. It's a 15, so that time it did work out in their favor. It's a line out to the shortstop, the new shortstop, Didi Gregorius, for out number 2. But now Sandy Leone gets the task of making potentially the second out of the inning, making 2 outs of the 3 in the inning. He will be up with the bases loaded and 2 outs. Sandy Leone led off the inning by striking out. It is a 6-7 against the lefty, and that will be another walk. He found that 6-7 category, so Esmil Rogers has walked in a run, and that's going to be a 5th run for the Red Sox. It's now 8-2 as Sandoval crosses the plate, and everybody else moves up a base. And that'll bring up Mookie Betts. Then Girardi's not even going to bother bringing a new pitcher in. What's the point this late in the game? So it's a 3-8. 3-8 for Mookie Betts against the right-handed hitting or pitching Rogers. It's a pop out to short. If we were using super advanced, there is an omega there, and that would turn to a base hit. But we're only playing advanced, not super advanced. So therefore, it is a pop out to the shortstop to mercifully end the inning. But a 5-run inning for the Red Sox, and we go to the bottom of the 9th with the score: Red Sox 8, Yankees 2. All right, new pitcher for the Red Sox is Tommy Lane. Not a safe situation, obviously, but he's going to come in and close things out. And I hope everybody's not getting a bad impression of Strat-O-Matic, because that was a bad roll inning that I had. Just unfortunate. Those innings can happen in any game. Just happened to be with this game. All right, so Jacoby Ellsbury will start off the bottom of the 9th. and it's a 6-9. So Tommy Lane being the lefty against the lefty hitting Ellsbury, a 6-9 is a strikeout. So Tommy Lane with the whiff on Ellsbury for out number 1, as the Yankees are down to the last 2 outs, and they probably mailed it in at this point, being down 8-2. Here's Gardner. It is a 5-5. So column 5, row 5 is another strikeout. The dot is if he's reached his point of weakness where he's tired. Obviously, he just came in the game, so that is not a factor. It is a strikeout for Gardner for out number 2. So he has struck out the 2 batters he has faced, and appropriately now the game could end on a at-bat by A-Rod. Although A-Rod is 3 for 4, the double and 2 singles and a run scored. It's a 4-6, so A-Rod won't get a chance to use his card. It'll be off the pitcher card. 4-6 is still going to be a walk, so A-Rod does draw a walk to bring this out to 1 more batter, and that batter is going to be Mark Teixeira. Mark Teixeira steps to the plate, switch hitter against Tommy Lane. It is a 3-4, so against a lefty, 3 and a 4. It's ground ball third base B, so that would technically be a fielder's choice, where Sandoval would throw over to Pedroia to get A-Rod coming into second to end the inning and end the ball game. And that's going to do it. The Red Sox have survived this trek through 5 board games, and once they got to Strat-O-Matic, they turned it on and got to Andrew Miller, the closer, for 5 runs. Actually, 4 of them were Miller's, 1 was Rogers, but nonetheless, 5 runs anyway. Broke open a 3-2 game, made it 8-2 as a final, and that's going to do it from here. As far as my impressions of Strat-O-Matic, again, the frustration potentially of a 50-50 split between the pitcher and the batter. If you're doing a runoff game or a one-off game or just a random game here and there, that can be frustrating. Over the course of a season, they do pretty much even out from what I've experienced. And I haven't played a full season yet, but I've played partial seasons. And they do, that does kind of even out over the course of the season. So it's hard to judge it just by, a very small sample like that. The player cards, I like the coloring on them. Cardstock is okay; it's nothing wonderful, but they hold up. And like I said, I do like the colors to differentiate between left and right. I do think that when they rate the cards, the player ratings are probably the most accurate of any of the games, because I think they put the most research in. So I do feel like the ratings of the players are the best of all the games out there, just because they've been doing it for years and they've got their formula and it seems to work very well for them. That's going to pretty much do it from here in the full run. I would recommend Strat-O-Matic. It's probably the one, if you're just starting out with Strat-O-Matic, I would highly suggest starting out playing the basic version of the game. The basic version where you don't have as much going on, and there's also on the player cards, rather than this left-right split, you just have one column to check on, so it makes it a little bit easier, I think. And particularly for defense, you're using the basic chart, and you're using the basic charts on a lot of these other things, I think will help out. And then once you get comfortable with that, then you can certainly move on to the advanced, maybe some super advanced. I don't even play all the super advanced. I do have Strat-O-Matic on the computer, and so when I play the computer game, I let that play super advanced because it does all those calculations for me, and all I have to do is sit back and manage the game. So I would give Strat-O-Matic a thumbs up, of course. It's kind of hard to rate them 1 through 5. That's a really tough call, because if I rate a game 4 or 5, it's like I'm saying it's not as good, and I don't want to give that impression. So I really can't rate these. I enjoy all of them. I play all of them. There's not a single one of these games that I showed today that I haven't played in the last month, at least in a runoff game or something. So I try to stay engaged in all these games, I don't want to get away from any of the games because then I'll forget how to play them and I'll have to learn them all over again. So I don't know how this is going to turn out. The video may be like 2 hours long. I don't know. I'm going to put all these pieces together. I hope I haven't bored everybody silly on this. Like I said, I did it on a whim to try to honor Steve Tower for getting his 1,000th subscriber, and the fact that he thought it was kind of cool the way I did the 4 games at one time. So this time, try to up the ante and go 1 for the thumb and do 5 in one sitting of 9 innings. So that's what we just did. And it was a great game up until the 9th. It was nice and close and exciting, and lots of bullpen switches and so forth that kept the game interesting. Of course, it got out of hand here in the 9th against Andrew Miller. Who knew? But, those things can happen. So I'd like to hear everybody's opinion if they have one, if they made it this far especially. I'd be curious to know if you have a particular favorite out of the 5 games. If I missed something in talking about one of the games, or if you just want to make a point about one of the games, or a point about trying to incorporate all 5 games into one 9-inning game. The only one that was still left that's out there that I've even played before is APBA Baseball, but I don't have the 2015 season for APBA. In fact, APBA is a game that I rarely play at all. I got it just to get it. But the basic version of APBA does not have any left-right splits on it whatsoever, and that's kind of a deal breaker for me. I feel like you have to have at least a semblance of a left-right split where something might come into play. And so I know they have a advanced game, or I'm not sure if it's called advanced or if it's called some deluxe or whatever it's called, but seeing bits and pieces of that on YouTube, it looks like you need a degree from MIT to figure out how to play it, so that does not interest me. I've got enough with these 5 games here to keep me occupied for quite a while. So no offense to the APBA players out there. There's people out there that love it. More power to everybody, to each their own, as they say. Not that APBA's a bad game, it's just that compared to these other games, I'd rather stick with those. But hey, I enjoy watching APBA videos on YouTube. I enjoy watching those get played. The dice shaker's kind of neat, and some of the aspects of that game are kind of neat. But it's relatively expensive to buy the card sets, and B, they don't have the left-right splits on the basic version. So that's, in case somebody was curious about what I thought about APBA, that's about it. Like I said, I'd stick with these 5 games pretty much all the time. And on the computer, I do have Diamond Mine Baseball that I play, and I also play the Replay Baseball game and the Strat-O-Matic versions on the computer as well. It'd be kind of neat. I don't think it would ever happen, but it'd be kind of neat to have Payoff Pitch and History Maker Baseball have a computer version. That would be kind of neat, but maybe way down the road that could happen, but I don't see that happening because the popularity of just being the board game. But you never know. Stranger things have happened. So that's it from here. I'm exhausted. I'm going to go get something to eat. This has been a long, arduous project. I thought about splitting this up over a couple of days, but I decided to go ahead and just sit down and do a down and dirty 5 games in a row, back to back to back to back. So other than the time it takes to tear down one game and set up another, I really haven't taken any breaks on this. And maybe that's coming through in my commentary. I don't know. But anyway, I hope everybody's having a wonderful day. And now that I've finished this little runoff project here, I'm going to get back to my 1987 Atlanta Braves. They had a very dramatic come-from-behind victory in the first game of the series against the Giants, thanks to a pinch-hit home run by Gary Renicky and then a home run in the 11th by Dale Murphy. So I'm definitely excited to get back on History Maker Baseball and play their games 10 and 11 of the season and finish out that roadie in San Fran. And then they're going to move on to Houston and play in the Astrodome. So I'm definitely interested in getting back with the rhythm on that. But I did want to go ahead and try this out and see how it went around the second time doing these multiple games. So I'm going to quit rambling and not make this video any longer than it already is. And I'm going to call it a day here. And I hope everybody has a wonderful time playing whatever board game you choose. or computer game you choose. The important thing is that you're having fun with it and you're enjoying the sport, you're enjoying the hobby, and you're just getting a break from reality and getting your own little universe. So one final shout out to Steve Tower. Congratulations for your 1,000 subscribers. May you get 1,000 more very shortly. And that's going to do it from here, and I'll catch everybody later.